This is News. We are Newsroom. Hello and welcome once again from Johannesburg, here in South Africa. My name, of course, is Nielsen. The show, as always, is live, broadcast from my studios right here in Auckland Park. Now, between 9 and 12, every weekday morning, we are live on this facility as well as on our YouTube live streaming channel. You can watch us back there on demand later in the day if you like. Today, well, traffic volumes are absolutely peaking. More than 1,200 cars per hour running on the N3 right now. We want to ask you, or we want you to share your experiences thus far on the roads in South Africa during the festive season. We understand there's roadworks on some of the main arterials and it's causing a little bit of consternation. Share with us what your experience has been like. We would like to talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's get the news with Elvis President.
Thank you. Yeben Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga talks to SABC News about the alleged selling of Teachers Post. The festive season death toll nears the 500 mark. And a document that SAA tried to keep from the public is now flying across the internet. These and more stories coming up, but first let's find out from Pearl what's happening on the sports front. A very good morning to you, Pearl.
Good morning and thank you so much to you, Elvis. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the world of sports. The South African Hockey Association has confirmed that the SA women and men's hockey teams will not be going to the Rio Olympic Games. On the international front, Chelsea has defended its decision to sack Jose Mourinho. Chelsea announced that Mourinho had left the club on mutual consent after 9 consecutive defeats. And still on the international front, suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter appeared before the Ethics Committee, World Soccer's governing body, in a case that could end with him being banned from the sport for years. Blatter was suspended on the 8th of October from all soccer-related activity for 90 days. This alongside UEFA chief Michel Platini, pending a full investigation into their conduct. And it's back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Pearl. Now, our top story this hour. The festive season death toll is reaching the 500 mark. Repeated calls for behavioral change and a high visibility of law enforcers are not preventing the carnage on our roads. Families of crash victims have spoken of their loss in the hope of creating more awareness of the problem.
The festive season, a time to share and to celebrate with loved ones.
Our Father who art in heaven.
But countless families will not sit down together for Christmas lunch, as many more will die on the roads in days to come. They will join other families still in mourning. Maki Faro lost her husband Edison in 2012, just 4 days before Christmas. The traffic officer died in a crash on the notorious Mulodo Road outside Pretoria.
It's not easy, and then especially to the kid it's not easy because I'm alone. I was not used to this kind of a life, being alone without him.
The Mkonjwa family's wounds are still fresh. Their mother was among 19 people who perished in this gruesome accident on the R28 nearly 2 weeks ago.
It was the first time.
It will be the first Christmas without my mom. This accident has changed our lives because even if we can travel anywhere, the pain will go with us.
In the midst of their pain, a heartfelt appeal from bereaved families.
Please, let's drive safely. And please, don't drink and drive. Please, drive vehicles that are safe to be on the roads.
Those who left behind, they are the one who's going to suffer the most. So we must always respect the road, respect the regulation of the road.
1,368 people were killed during the festive season last year. Mara, why is a question we should ask ourselves as the number of road deaths continues to rise. Close to 500 people have died on the country's roads since the beginning of the festive season. And again, appeals for motorists to change their behavior, and it begins with you. Mangoba Mchunu, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And of course, we're asking you a very important question as well. Of course, your experience during this time of the year when you drive around. What has been your experience on our roads? Let us know via the Twitter page as well as the Facebook page. But every year, the Stay Alert, Stay Alive campaign stage several events to highlight various dangers on the roads, especially those associated with the holiday season. Now, one of those initiatives is to teach children at school about road safety awareness and respect for the road. Now, to tell us more, we are joined in our Durban studios by the coordinator of the Stay Alert, Stay Alive project, Dr. Lawrence Barrett. Dr. Barrett, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. First and foremostly, tell us briefly about all the various projects that Stay Alert, Stay Alive is busy with your partners to spread awareness about the dangers on our roads.
Thank you. The first and foremost is our TV presentations in the Stay Alert, Stay Alive series, in which we concentrate on various current dangers on the road. And needless to say, the current main danger on the road is drinking and driving. Why I say so is that official statistics which have just come out indicate that just on 58% of the deaths on South Africa's roads are the result of drinking and driving. Please don't get it wrong, there can be other elements involved in it as well. By way of example, a driver, after consuming alcohol, thinks he's a hero on the road and drives at a speed or reckless in a way that he wouldn't have should he not have been drunk. The second main focus this particular holiday season is nothing to do with actually being safe on the road. It is more to do with your conduct, namely, wear a seatbelt when you're in a vehicle. It doesn't matter if you're the driver, the front seat passenger, or the back seat passengers of a vehicle. It doesn't matter if you have a baby in a vehicle. That baby must be buckled up as well. It won't prevent a crash, but once you're in a crash, statistics reveal that the chances of being seriously injured are 56% less, and the chances of being killed in such a crash is reduced by 44%. So they are the two main focuses which we have at the moment. And I'll repeat it again, do not drink and drive, and when you're in a vehicle, make sure that both you and all other passengers are always buckled up.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Barrett, the Stay Alert, Stay Alive public service announcement, which you've mentioned, that 1-minute insert on SABC, has been running for a number of years to make the drivers aware of the dangers on our roads. But are these campaigns working, though?
Well, the answer that we have been given is twofold. First of all, with respect to the direct answers, we've been told that should these not be on air and should our publicity not be there, the death toll, in other words, the crash statistic, would even be higher. And this we know from other indications. By way of example, when we concentrate on a specific form of danger on the road, we find that the number of crashes which occur because of that particular danger is reduced. And the second factor in this is that the feedback that we get from both the public and official sources indicate that it must be working because of the number of people coming back and asking questions about something that we have had on air, or on the other hand just saying, thank you very much for telling us that, we didn't realize it. Thank you, in different words.
Now, young children are the future drivers in our country. Now, you're also focusing on that. Tell us about that program that focuses on these future drivers and how we can make them better drivers.
Thank you. With respect to the young drivers, what we have done on the broad sphere is that we have a DVD which we have already circulated to over 2,000 schools across South Africa. The idea of this DVD is that youngsters, in other words, school-going children of any age, in fact, it's good for adults as well, will look at this, will view it in the guidance class or whatever class that the teacher or the principal of the school decides to show it at, or even in the main hall, and be encouraged to be safe on the roads. It's not only with respect to drivers, this particular DVD, it also concerns cyclists, people who use the roads as pedestrians, and people who are generally in the road for other reasons. It could be for a sport reason, it could be for a cycle practice, it could be for a cycle race, a jog in the road, and any other reason that people have to be on the road. And of course, it also concerns your conduct in the motor vehicle. In other words, when you get into the motor vehicle, make sure, that's for the kids, that you are buckled up. And of course, if others are not buckled up, just remind them to also buckle up. So that is the DVD that we have distributed and are still distributing at this particular moment. Then we have events. By way of example, outside Benoni at the Ibotsi estate, we held an event a couple of months ago in which we brought a number of underprivileged children and other youth to the event. It was exceptionally successful. The event concentrated on a number of aspects with respect to road safety which the children could get involved in. By way of example, we had a live demonstration in which the children took part with respect to being on a vehicle in a confined area and see various dangers which do occur when you're on the road, but based on a safe confined area. And another aspect that we also did there, amongst other things we did, is we had the drunk buster goggles. Now what these do is they simulate the effect of being drunk, but only on your eyes. And this was an amazing experiment, and the children who were involved over there all were in awe as to what was happening once you wear these particular goggles.
Now, looking back, what are some of the critical challenges that the authorities are facing relating to errant drivers, and what awareness programs are you focusing on this festive season to make them aware of these things?
Correct. Well, needless to say, we've already mentioned the dangers of drinking and driving, and we've already mentioned the fact that if you wear a seatbelt, your chances of being injured or killed in a road crash are reduced considerably. But two other main aspects this particular holiday season which are of concern to everybody who's involved in the road safety chain. The first is very, very simple, and that is that certain vehicles on the road are not roadworthy. They can go out of control. They can involve innocent drivers, sometimes on the other side of the road, having a crash with these particular vehicles. If your vehicle is not roadworthy, just don't take it out on the road. You're a danger to yourself, your passengers, and to other road users. The second point in this respect is recklessness. This morning, on my way to this studio over here, I saw 3 motor vehicles just driving through red lights without any care, without thinking, should I stop, without thinking, should I not stop. I don't know, maybe the drivers were drunk and didn't even realize that the sets of lights were red, but they went through them. People must not drive recklessly. In other words, drivers of motor vehicles must at all times be concentrating on their surrounds and not drive recklessly. The amount of reckless driving that takes place in South Africa, we all can see it. We see it on a daily basis, is unbelievable.
Dr. Barrett, thank you so much for your time, and let's hope that you stay alert, stay alive, and arrive alive.
Thank you very much.
That was the coordinator of the Stay Alert, Stay Alive project, Dr. Lawrence Barrett. But for more on this, let's cross over to Eben.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shava. See, it's a week before Christmas, and traffic volumes, well, they've increased immeasurably on South Africa's roads. The road works on the N1 have not been completed in time for this festive season, especially around Bloemfontein. Motorists are advised to be cautious when travelling along this road or to even use alternative routes. The N1, of course, is the major route between Johannesburg and Cape Town here in South Africa, and a connecting one to Eastern Cape towns such as Port Elizabeth and East London. Now, the roadworks are expected to cause major congestion for road users in the central parts of the country as they all travel towards the coast. We are joined now by our reporter Mbali Sibanyoni. Now, she's going to speak to the spokesperson for the Mangaung Metro Municipality, Kondile Khadama. A very good morning to you, Mbali. Before you start your interview, just give us an idea of the effect that roadworks around the Bloemfontein area is having on traffic there.
Yes, that's right. As Christmas nears, cars continue to stream down here on the N1 highway. Now, what's very important about this stretch of road is that it connects the Free State to the Eastern and Western Cape, which is very busy during this time of the year. And we've been marred by a number of delays on this specific stretch of road, and that's because of the construction that's been taking place to upgrade the city's roads. Now, joining us here with us today is the city's spokesperson, Kondile Ketama. Now, sir, can you just let us know how prepared is the city for holiday makers this year?
No, we are well prepared. If you can look at the team that we have assembled, we are working together with the province. I am just told that from 6 o'clock today, already the volumes of traffic were a little bit high. As I come in here, I had to accelerate up to 70 kilos per hour. That shows you that already the traffic has started. But all that we are appealing for, it is just a cooperation and patience amongst the drivers, because what you see here is just a temporary measure where the road is under construction, particularly as you come from Raymond Hlaba up to your Walter Sisulu drive going down Colesberg. So clearly it tells you that the only medicine for this, it is patience and cooperation. But we have also augmented our warm bodies, like in the form of your law enforcement officers. We have made sure that we have enough team that is visible 24 hours a day. So we think that we'll be able to cope between now until the end of the festive season.
And how many lanes did the city make available to holiday makers making their way down to the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape?
Well, the only inconvenience you get is at the Raymond Hlaba and around Walter Sisulu drive. But moving forward or down to Colesberg, the road is beginning to open. All that we need is just a cooperation and adherence to the traffic laws.
Okay. And did the city deploy more officials to just deal with the congestion on the roads during this time?
Oh, definitely. This is just what I've just indicated now, that we have added numbers in terms of our traffic officers. Also, the province has assisted a lot, particularly in the national road itself, which is the N1 to Colesberg, Cape Town. So we think that these are the women and men who will be able to assist and allow us to have a free flow of traffic between now until the end of season. But also the message that one would want to put across, as stated by the executive mayor, is that you would want to see an accident-free type of a country, type of a province, and the city itself.
Okay. And when did construction take place on the N1 highway, and when do we think it's going to be completed?
Look, we are looking at March at the most, but most of the work has happened already, other than in the city itself. Well, the city is under construction, you might have realized, but we have put all the measures in place. We have your patrols, you have your volunteers, you also have your traffic officers in numbers, so that at least people are not inconvenienced. Well, what I know that happens most of the time during the holidays is that people are quick to rush into their destinations and so that is why we're urging for patience and cooperation, because if you are not going to cooperate, for example, with traffic officers, you are bound to be taken to jail. If you are not cooperating with your fellow drivers, you are bound to, engage into road rage, of which is what we are actually condemning as the city.
Thank you. Now the road is not that busy at this very moment, but we do know that traffic is expected to pick up sometime next week. That's it from us here in Bloemfontein. Back to you in studio.
Yeah, thank you very much to Mbali there for that update. Your cooperation is what is needed around Bloemfontein. The city officials are telling us there that, well, there are some roadworks. They're busy with construction, so the going is going to be quite slow there. Motorists, they are urged to abide by the rules of the road, not just in Bloemfontein, but all over South Africa. Let's take a quick look at some of your views with regards to what is happening with the traffic situation. Don't Drink and Drive talked about who the designated drivers that allow everyone to have fun and enjoy the ride. We salute you. Road safety matters. Yes, the designated driver. Have a safety road, says Fatma. Transport Department of South Africa is a participant to the Decade of Action for Road Safety 2011 to 2020 campaign. Yes, we are. Arrive Alive. Do we still have Arrive Alive? I think so. KZN holds multidisciplinary roadblock and road safety wellness campaign. Yes, you'll see a lot of that all around the country on all of our roads. As traffic volumes are starting to peak, they're picking up. We've seen the numbers around 1,200 to the hour on our main arterials from early this morning. Our picture of the day, well, it comes from Bella Africa, and it's captioned, KZN storm victims plead for government help. If we can have a look at that picture, look at that. We've had some inclement weather in the last 24 hours around South Africa. We've had floods here, in Johannesburg, and as you can see, people are suffering from, well, heavy winds and other forms of the elements. Let's go outside our borders now, take a look what's happening around the globe. We'll start in Europe, where the Times reports forecasters said yesterday that next year is likely to break global temperature records for a third year in succession, that is. Then, the International New York Times says Turkey will drop charges against Israeli officers in the deaths of Turkish activists aboard a ship in 2010, and Israel will establish a fund for the victims' families. Then, finally, in India, the Hindu reports that after several flip-flops, now the BR government has decided that the ban on sale and consumption of liquor in the state will be in phases beginning on April 1, 2016. Can you imagine a ban on alcohol consumption in South Africa, or even in Gauteng, or the Western Cape for that matter? We'll have riots in the streets. Time for us to take a break. You're watching Newsroom here on SABC News. Welcome back. You're still with Newsroom here on SABC News now. Traffic volumes are peaking on the country's roads. For the first time this year, 24-hour roadblocks will be operating in all of the provinces. The Hoek Plaza on the N3 is already experiencing huge traffic volumes with a total number of 1,190 cars per hour as of this morning. Road users are urged to be patient and abide by the rules of the road. Now, to give us an update, but also some advice, we are joined via Skype by Rob Byrne. Very good morning to you, Rob. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Evan. Lovely to be here, and compliment of the season to everyone, of course.
Fantastic. We hope it's going to be a very festive season, but it doesn't look like that on the road at the moment, Rob. It's starting to peak, and it looks like we've got roadworks around critical areas in the country. Can you give us a little overview of the do's and don'ts?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there are three pillars of road safety. There are three very important things that the motoring public can do to just help ensure that they're going to arrive safely at their destination. Number one, obviously, is belt up. As soon as you get in the car, the seatbelt click, make sure everyone's wearing a belt. They really do save lives. Step number two is turn the lights on. You know, I think it's around about a figure like 60% of fatalities on our roads involve pedestrians. So, you know, as a motorist, if you've got your headlights on, you're giving that, during the day I'm talking about, you're giving those pedestrians a better chance of seeing you. And, of course, you're giving other road produces a better chance of seeing you coming as well. And then stick to the speed limit. There is absolutely no need to do anything crazy. It's busy enough, it's crazy enough already, so just stick to the speed limit. Just make sure that you have a nice, safe, leisurely trip to your holiday destination. So belts on, lights on, and stick to the speed limit. They're the three pillars, the three key aspects of road safety to start with.
Now, Rob, you've got your eye to the road, as it were. Tell us about the areas we should be concerned about. We hear about roadworks around Bloemfontein, a sinkhole, Stilfontein on the Kimberley Road, the N8 is a single lane, so forth. Just give us your overview. Where are the areas that are going to be problematic and we should maybe be extra vigilant around?
Yeah, I'll tell you that the real problem even is going to be the weather. This time of year, motorists in the north, Gauteng and northwest, Limpopo, and of course in Mpumalanga, and even KZN as well, it can be rain. It can be a combination of rain and mist, and that's when it gets really, really tricky in those driving conditions. So, you know, before you even set off, make sure your tire tread is in good order. If they're not, get them repaired, get them replaced. Make sure your wiper blades, your windscreen wipers are in good working order. If you hit that rain, that driving rain, you want to be able to put the windscreen wiper on and see where you're going. So, you know, we talk about the sort of seatbelts, lights on, don't speed, but checking your the safety aspects of your vehicle just as important with those weather conditions. We saw yesterday a big closure of the N12 highway through Benoni because of the rain and flooding, and you could very easily run into a situation like that. In terms of roadworks, yeah, there's some construction N1 between Joburg and Bloemfontein. There is that option if you're going down to the Cape or the Northern Cape, Western Cape, to come out of Joburg and do the Potchefstroom, Klerksdorp, Kimberley run. That's a really good route. It's recently been upgraded, and of course you avoid all the truck traffic. The trucks and big vehicles tend to use the N1, and you'll also bypass some of the works going down through Kroonstad and Ventersburg and around the Bloemfontein bypass as well. You mentioned Stilfontein. There's a big sinkhole on the side of the carriageway at Stilfontein. That's between Klerksdorp and Potchefstroom. So it's about a 20-minute detour through the Stilfontein town. Both ways of that section of the N12 are being closed.
Thanks for that. Before I let you go, just if there's one tip for people traveling long distances, what would that tip be that you'd be giving us, Rob?
Yeah, just rest. You know, rest. Make sure you're staying alert, you're staying awake, and you're staying alive. They say every 200 kilometers, every 2 hours, find somewhere safe to pull over, a lay-by or a services. Make sure you pull well off the road. Just get out, stretch the legs, get some fresh air, make sure you're awake and keep going. You know, staying alert, staying alive, that's the key, isn't it?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rob. That's Rob Byrne, traffic reporter, the man who has his ear to the road here in South Africa as to what is, what is happening now. He mentioned there's a sinkhole. There's a sinkhole on the side of the road close to, between Klerksdorp and Potchefstroom here in the northern parts of the country. That's the N12 for those of you that don't know that. There's a detour. It's going to take you about an extra 20 minutes to get through the town of Stilfontein and carry on towards Kimberley if you are taking that route at any time in the next couple of weeks. But let's go to our reporter, Tsholofelo Matiberi, who's been there, who can give us a quick update about what is happening, not just in that side of the world, but with the sinkhole. Very good morning to you, Tsholofelo.
Huh? Have you cued me? We are standing here on the N12, which is aptly called the Treasure Route. There's a lot of traffic volumes that pass through here, coming from Johannesburg, going through to places like Kimberley, as well as Cape Town. But then now what has happened is there's a problem on the road wherein the road has been cordoned off because a sinkhole was discovered just meters away from here in an area called Stilfontein on your way to Klerksdorp. That sinkhole has made it impossible for the traffic volume that's supposed to pass through this route to actually, pass through, and now they've been diverted. The road that they're supposed to be taking to Klerksdorp now would have to take them through into the Stilfontein town, which is a problem that has been caused by a sinkhole which was discovered not so long long ago around this area, and I am standing on the cordon off point where cars and motorists coming from far and wide in the country are being diverted to try to stay away from the sinkhole, which has been said to can be fatal if not enough care is being taken to ensure that motorists or cars do not exert pressure on the road. I was hoping to talk to the mayor of Matosana, who will probably be joining me as I continue with the interview or with the report. But traffic volumes from here, from Joburg, passing through N12, passing through Stelfontein, Potchefstroom, going towards Cape Town, has been affected by this sinkhole. The municipality is acting, has put in place measures to try to ensure that, you know, they try to do whatever that is possible in order to ensure the safety of motorists, especially at this time where, you know, it's the Christmas time. Families, people are going from, you know, Joburg, Pretoria, going to Cape Town, and normally a lot of those people depend on this exact route to go through the different journeys that they will be embarking on to go celebrate Christmas, maybe in coastal areas. As I indicated, this road would lead you straight to areas like Cape Town, and aptly called the treasure route. So the problem that has been identified of the sinkhole has now made it impossible for motorists to go through the road as per normal. Now they have to be diverted. I don't know if you can see behind me, there's traffic officials that are trying to divert the motorists, and they're trying to tell them it is not safe to go straight up to through to Klerksdorp using the very route, but now they're being diverted. They're going behind what you see here, but a lot of the problem is said to be because of the mining operations that used to occur here. So the mining operations, and a lot of them, or a lot of the land was not rehabilitated. And as I indicated that I'm waiting to speak to the mayor of Matosane, Mayor Mike Aue, who has just joined me to just give us an indication as to what the municipality is doing to ensure that, you know, the safety of motorists is ensured. Mr. Kawe, welcome, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Mr. Kawe, the N12 has been cordoned off, and as I was saying, it is one of the routes that is mainly used by motorists coming from your Joburg, your Pretoria, going through to your Kimberleys and your Cape Town. As a municipality, what is it that you are doing to ensure the safety of motorists?
Firstly, I must start apologizing to our community which are passing through this road of the N12 to spend their holidays with their families. It's an inconvenience, we understand, but we cannot take a risk as a municipality. We've appointed the services of a geologist who is currently conducting investigations. The first phase of investigations has been completed, and the second phase is in process. And now, early in January, they will be exactly giving us a report as to the second investigations which they are conducting currently. And we are aware that the hole is sinking, and anytime it can collapse because of the impact which is caused by the rain as well, because already there are holes there, and as it rains it creates more risks. So we don't want to take a chance. We want people to be safe there. We have already spoken to the families around the area that one or two families must be moved out of the area. The one has already moved out, and the others we are negotiating, although they are not really very cooperative. But we, as a municipality, it's our responsibility to continue to engage them to a point where they can understand.
But then how do you foresee that? Is it going to take the whole Christmas season? People would have to be diverted like this throughout the holiday season, probably?
Definitely it's going to be throughout this holiday season. We cannot guarantee opening the road, because any risk there we will then have to be responsible. So it will be closed, and hence I say it's an inconvenience which we understand and we apologize for.
And what other contingencies as a municipality are you putting in place to ensure, you know, that at least drivers get to this experience doesn't become a bad one.
Look, we have put our traffic officers at the point to direct traffic. We've also appointed the service of a geologist, which is action that we've taken as a municipality. We're trying to communicate with people through the radio of OFM and other stations, and even SABC, where we try to engage people. We have also, as a municipality, drafted some leaflets where we will distribute, apologizing for the inconvenience that we've caused. And actually, it is a natural disaster which we do not want to take advantage of, and opening the road to our communities. But definitely we apologize for that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
You've heard a multi-pronged approach towards this natural disaster that has happened in this area of Stilfontein when you are on the N12 going through to Klerksdorp and your Cape Town. And it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Solofelo. Comprehensive update there from, Stilfontein, actually, on your way to Klerksdorp. If you're going to go to Kimberley, watch out. There's a sinkhole that as well. It's causing about a 20-minute delay, so it's not so bad if you're traveling on the N12. Also, that road is well known that it doesn't have so many trucks like some of the other ones. So if you're traveling from Johannesburg down to Cape Town, think about going via Kimberley. It's not really much longer, and it's a much easier drive. Now, 78% of all road accidents in South Africa are caused by human error. That is alarming. Alvis looks at a solution.
Well, talking about that solution, Eben, just to latch onto that story, Stilfontein is not going to be so still. I can promise you that, with the road traffic and all the vehicles moving through that town. Now, continuing our theme on road safety this festive season, the focus falls now on driver training. Now, we're also asking you your perspective, your experience on our South African roads during this period. Now, it's already 18 days into the 2015 festive season. The death toll on South African roads is nearing 500. Now, it's estimated that road accidents claim between 13,000 and 14,000 lives on South African roads. Just over 9,000 fatal accidents were recorded in 2002. That 78% were attributed to human factors, 12% to road factors, and 10% to the vehicles. Now, just an example, this week, 2 men were arrested on the N4 in the Bronkhorstspruit area for speeding. Their vehicles were doing almost double the restricted 120 km/h speed. Now, with the death toll expected to rise, our focus today falls on driver training in South Africa. The owner of DriveWise and the managing director of Focus Advanced Driver Training, Gordon Underwood, now joins us in studio to talk about driver training in South Africa. Gordon, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Morning, Elvis. Thanks for the opportunity.
Now, first and foremostly, if the majority of the fatal accidents are attributed to human factor, how do we start to address that and change driver behavior on our roads?
Well, firstly, I think it starts from grassroots, from primary schools or even nursery schools. The kids need to be taught about the responsibility of pedestrians, first of all, to look before they cross the road, to make sure it's safe before they just walk into a traffic situation, because that's what causes potential dangers and accidents. And then secondly, learner drivers, which start at the age of 16, 17, depending if you're doing motorbikes or cars, and then obviously trucks and hire, going up into fleets and things like that. And it's people taking responsibility for their actions and not just leaving it up to everyone else. And that starts with a driver training situation where we teach the guys not just to understand the road rules, but to take responsibility for their actions. Because it's not enough just to be obeying the road rules anymore. It's more important to make sure it is safe before you actually drive.
Because I think that has been the focus, on knowing the road rules and not really on the driver training. Is that the fact?
Exactly that. It's more, they need to take responsibility. I think too many people take driving too lightly. And I think, great, I'm in a car, it's nice and safe, I'm enclosed, I've got airbags, but they forget that that vehicle is a dangerous tool or even a weapon when it's not used correctly and safely. And we treat our trainers and our learners right from the beginning that, yes, you can enjoy driving, but you need to take responsibility for your actions and make sure that your actions don't cause a potential danger or inconvenience others and break the law.
Gordon, we get a driver that gets a driver's license today.
Yes.
Right? The next time we see him, he's in a taxi full of people driving on a long-distance road.
Yes.
What impact that does have that on the particular driver that has not gone through driver training per se?
Well, taxis is a good example. A lot of people think taxi drivers don't have licenses. A lot of them don't. And they don't even learn, the learners, from the beginning. So they don't even know the proper road traffic signs, the markings. So they don't even know how to obey the traffic signs, actually. And then everyone else just copies and thinks, if they can get away with it, why not us? So now we're just sitting with lawlessness, and that's the big main problem. And then the enforcement of the traffic laws. A lot of the time, police are not enforcing the laws correctly, and they're just offering bribes, and people are scared of them, so they'll just take the bribe and rather deal with it than do it the right way.
So how then do we test or maybe impart this knowledge onto our drivers on the roads to make sure that they're conscientious about the road rules, and two, that there are other road users that also use the road?
Well, first and foremost, they need to do the learner's course correctly, not just buy the answers.
And what does that mean, learn it correctly or do it correctly?
Well, we offer books, but there are many books out there in the different shops, the CNAs and different news agencies, but we've got a specific book that we produce at the moment that is updated every few months, that is up to date with the current touchscreen test. It used to be the written test. In the last few years, they've now changed it to the touchscreen test, and that is for all codes. And we help them where we do a course to actually lead them through it, to understand the questions correctly and not just put parrot fashion answers, so that when they come to real life situations, they understand why those signs and markings are there and how to obey them and adjust to different situations.
Now that is from a learner perspective. Now you progress onto the driver perspective. What do you do then?
Well, okay, obviously they need to have the learner's license first so that they know the road rules. Then we teach them the basics of vehicle control, but that's only 10% of it. Once they learn the basics of clutch control, steering, braking, changing gears, and depending on whether it's an automatic car or a manual vehicle, then we go to traffic situations where they learn to make decisions and choices, which comes with practice and time. And it's not just a matter of having a certain amount of hours or lessons. They need to go and practice then on the road in between lessons to get that experience so they can make decisions and choices and adapt to different road situations.
So now you get your learners, you got to your driver's section, but is there a need then for advanced driving lessons after that?
Definitely, because like I said earlier, it's not enough just to be obeying the road rules anymore. Too many accidents happening because someone might be obeying the road rules and it's his right of way and he's going through a green robot, but if someone's skipping the robot on the other side, it's not safe to do so. We tell the guys, first and foremost, obey the road rules. Go when it's your right of way, but make sure it is safe when you move. If it's not, slow down, brake, or stop, and adjust accordingly. So defensive and advanced driving teaches you that to anticipate and make sure it's safe before you get there, so that you know what you're going to do before, and you're not just reacting last second.
Is that maybe then a suggestion that we should change the way we train our drivers?
Definitely. I agree, 100%. And that's what I've been trying to say for the last few years, and we're trying to get some of the government and other officials and top delegates involved, that we can change the way we do driver training in South Africa, because that's more how they do it in some of the first world countries, and that's why the death rate is not so high, because they take ownership and they take responsibility and anticipate, and therefore they can minimize most risks.
Now, people hearing this message this morning and they want to get in touch with you to find out more, how do they get hold of you, Gordon?
Well, they can get hold of us via our website. It's www.drivewiser, with an R on the end, .co.za, or Focus Advanced Driver Training. The one is for the corporate advanced and the advanced driver training, defensive, skid pay, and anti-hijacking. We deal with fleets and fleet management and help bring risks down for fleets and costs. And then we've got the driver training, which is DriveWiser, the learners and the drivers. And we do have Facebook pages for both as well. And if they want to get hold of me directly, it's 082 748 6295.
Gordon, thank you so much, and good luck with the campaign. It sounds like a wonderful initiative.
And drive safe, everyone.
There you go. That's the message. Stay alert, stay alive, and arrive alive. That was the owner of DriveWise and Managing Director of Focus Advanced Driver Training, Gordon Underwood, joining us in the studio to talk about your driver training in South Africa. Is it enough that you just had your learner's license and your driver's license and the next day you're on the road? That's the question we pose to you. It's over to you, Yeben.
You're not allowed to use Arrive Alive anymore, Elvis. There's a copyright infringement. Someone has registered it as a trademark, and now not even our officials here in South Africa can use it. But let's take a look at your tweets. Of course, sensational development yesterday in the world of football. Jose Mourinho was sacked. Now, the Walking Man band says, I still can't believe Mourinho is gone. Chelsea and their owner have really proven the concerns of fans mean nothing at all. No, it's financial concerns that mean everything. Boniface Kayoko says, I think Mourinho's departure should be a lesson to those who go back to their exes. That's a bit harsh. Abdullah says, English media will hype a person and still bring him down. Showed Mourinho all the love when he arrived and still compounded his woes. Yes, that is the media today, the rise and fall. Sosa says, releasing Mourinho was a bad move at Chelsea FC. Yes, lots of people think it is a bad move. Mike Davies says, Mourinho vows to rebuild his career at Fulham. My home is here, my son is here, and I shall forfeit my salary until Fulham Football Club is back at the top. He says, oh, I still want to see that. I don't quite believe that. Anyhow, time for us to take a break now. We'll be back with more after a short little while.
News at 1 touches the nerve of business locally and abroad. Find out how a move in the economy affects you daily. We bring to you all stock markets information across the globe daily. We deliver the latest news and sport news of the day. Make a date with lunchtime news at 1 daily.
Welcome back. You're still with Newsroom now. The South African Red Cross Society has launched a first aid app that will assist you during your travels and if any other first aid emergencies. The First Aid on the Go app by the Red Cross gives you instant access to information that will assist you during the most common emergencies, such as what to do when someone starts choking, for instance, or how to treat snake and spider bites, CPR and other basic first aid. Now, the app is tailored specifically for South Africans and contains preloaded content that can be accessed instantly, anytime, anywhere, even without airtime. Once the app is downloaded, it can operate without reception or internet connection. We are joined in our Limpopo studios by the South African Red Cross Society, or Red Cross, the regional manager in Limpopo, George Mamabolo. Hello, George. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Ben? And good morning to all.
Fantastic. George, tell us about this app. How's the rollout going?
The rollout is going quite good. It's an interesting app. It's quite informative. It has, text. You can read around the different emergencies. It has voice and video, where it does show, how do you apply first aid in different emergency situations. So it is quite a good app, and I encourage all South Africans to download it and have it on their cell phones, because it might save a life. You might never know what might happen when. So having the app, it is actually a good thing on your phone.
How do we get access to the app, and also tell us some of the core features of the app then?
The app is accessible on any cell phone, on any Android cell phone. You go to the Red Cross website, which is www.redcross.org.za. You will access the app from the website, download it on your phone, and then once it's downloaded on your phone, you can use it at any time. You can access it any time, for information. So it is always accessible. Once it's downloaded, it is free. We are not charging for the downloads. We are not charging for the usage. It's free for everybody. So I encourage everybody to, download it. It has, of course, some basic information which we normally use on training when we train people in first aid. So this would definitely be a good app to have, especially around this time when we are living with family. We have a lot of family members around us. Those that have lived with different chronics. If they get attacked, you'd know how to respond. So it has basic information. Let's go out there to the Red Cross website and access the first aid app.
And the reaction, the early reaction to the app, how has that been?
No, it has been very good. People are quite happy, those that have downloaded, and it's on their phone because it is user-friendly. It's the guide that it gives is not complicated. So people are quite happy that they have the app on, on their phones. If for any chance that there is a bleeding that we have to stop, it tells you how to stop it. It tells you the basic steps that you need to follow and how to stop bleeding. How do we help somebody who is choking? How do we help somebody with diabetes who perhaps has fainted, and etc. So it's quite a good app. People that have downloaded it on their phones are quite happy. They are using it already. So it is quite a good app for all of us South Africans to access and use.
Quickly, you've got 30 seconds to tell us how the roads are looking in the northern parts of the country there by you.
Well, the roads are packed, as part of road safety. The Red Cross is running also a very big road safety program. So we encourage all South Africans to drive safely, be patient on the road and have a lot of rest because that is quite important also to rest along this festive on the road as there is a lot of traffic. But we encourage everybody, South Africans, to go and get the first aid training from the Red Cross, including the app, because it will then, capacitate you to get more, first aid skills, especially that, we live with different chronics and diseases that we might not know how to control. Yeah. With the first aid app, including the training also, it will capacitate number of people on how to apply basic first aids. In different emergency situations.
George, thank you very much for joining us from the Red Cross in Limpopo. That is George Mamabolo talking about this fantastic first aid app. Of course, he says you have to rest. Don't drink Red Bull when you're driving. Actually, don't drink at all, which is what Elvis is going to wrap this hour with.
Now, South Africa is said to have one of the worst road accident rates in the country, or on the continent. A number of these accidents are caused by drunk drivers, especially during the festive season. According to the World Health Organization's report, every year the lives of approximately 1.25 million people are cut short as a result of a road traffic crash. Between 20 and 50 million more people suffer non-fatal injuries, with many incurring a disability as a result of their injury. The South Africans Against Drunk Driving is a non-profit organization that aims to fight against drunk driving and to protect families from needless death. We are now joined live from Pietermaritzburg via Skype by the founder and director of South Africans Against Drunk Driving, Caro Smith. Caro, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show.
Now, Caro, it is the festive season, and most people are traveling back home or they're traveling to their holiday destinations, and some will ultimately drink under the influence of alcohol. Has South Africans Against Drunk Driving done anything to work with the various traffic departments to limit road accidents caused by drunk driving?
Yes, what we do a lot of education, because people do not understand how little alcohol have to drink to be over the legal limit. And many people do not even know what the legal limit is. So the legal limit is less than 0.05, which is about one double brandy. If you have 1 quart of beer, you will be over the legal limit. And if you have 5 quarts, you'll be about 0.20, and your chance of having a crash will be about 80 times more compared to if you were sober. So SAD have been very involved in teaching people about units of alcohol, what they come to in the body, and the very slow elimination rates of alcohol. So, for example, if you drank a bottle of brandy, it would take you 32 hours before you are sober. So people need to really know this and understand this, because they think if they get up the next morning and they have a shower and they drink water and they have a cup of coffee, they will be okay. But if the alcohol hasn't been eliminated from their body, they will still be over the legal limit, and so they are able to have a crash and cause untold death, destruction, and pain to families, as well as an enormous cost to the economy. So I think it was 2012, the cost to the economy was 306 billion, and more than half of that was caused by drink driving. So alcohol is involved in enormous cost to our country, and that is very preventable.
Now,
so
Carol,
that's why
now, Carol, your organization, the SADD, provides that education about drunk driving to road traffic officials as well, and we believe also schools. But has this assisted in limiting alcohol-related crashes, you think?
You know, the main thing that works, education is important, but the most important part of actually bringing down the crashes is enforcement. And unfortunately, South Africa scores very badly on enforcement. We score 4 out of 10 for enforcement. So that's the one problem. We're just not testing people enough. And the other problem is that we need very swift fining or swift court appearances. We need licenses to be suspended. So basically, the Department of Transport is not testing enough, and Department of Justice is actually not implementing the correct fines and penalties.
Right, Carol, that's where we got to leave it, unfortunately. We're just running out of time there, Carol, but the message is very clear. You should not drink and drive. That was the founder and director of South Africans Against Drunk Driving, Carol Smith, on the line. Now it's over to the weather forecast. After this, no, not really. Well, let's find out from Eben what's happening there.
Yeah, there's no weather today. I'm not the weatherman, Elvis. It's not gonna happen, my friend. We'll get an update at the next at the top. Well, at the end of the next hour, I'll give you a comprehensive weather update. But that's where we're going to leave you for now. We'll be back in a couple of minutes at the top of the hour at 10 with a complete news update. Don't go away.
Hello, it's a favorite minister here. Yane, party is a very nice language because it was written by you, the people. Here's a good one. Try hard, an individual who tries against all odds. Hoi! Give me water!
Tryhards, keep cool with the case of Costa Light for $179.99 and help make party South Africa's 12th official language. Tops at Spa. Shape things up.
News Today takes an in-depth look on news locally, continentally, and globally. We bring the world to your home. We cover all economy news extensively to keep you informed. We are live to break news as and when they happen across the world. We analyze news using experts in all aspects. Make a date with News Today every Monday to Friday from 3 to 5:30 p.m.
Our eyes are the window to the beautiful wonders of the world, but blindness enhances other senses. Technology has made living with blindness easy.
If you look on the side here, it's got like grooves in there. Yeah. So the first one after when it comes together will be at 20 Rand, 50 Rand. And if I slide this in, I can see according to the grooves, it's now on 50 Rand.
To Steve Kekana, blindness was never a hindrance, but a blessing.
You got to know that you are the child of the universe, being blind, and you've got the right to be here.
Join your host, Dr. Sello Mutawun, every Saturday from 9 a.m.
The son of Africa, Trevor Noah, is leaving America in stitches.
I never dreamed that I would one day have, well, two things really. An indoor toilet and a job as host of The Daily Show.
We are the first to bring you the latest films around the globe.
Dear white people, the minimum requirement of black friends needed to not seem racist has just been raised to 2.
Cobbins Asako is a gifted blind musician, a master of soothing notes from the piano.
I love to sit behind the piano. You know, that also helps me find inspiration.
Join Refilo Mulwa every Friday for that 1-hour weekly dose of art and entertainment news at 9 p.m. on Trends.
It's 10:00 hours Central Africa time on this Friday, the 18th of December 2015. This is Newsroom, Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to the second hour. I'm Elvis Preston. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock, and you have to stay with us as we broadcast live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. We're also streaming live on YouTube with the entire show available on our YouTube channel. But first, let's take a look at all your news headlines. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga talks to SABC News about the alleged selling of teachers' posts. The festive season death toll nears the 500 mark already. And a document that SAA tried to keep from the public is now flying across the internet. Those are all your headlines. But first, let's find out from Pearl Shimbo what's happening on the sports field. A very good morning to you, Pearl.
Good morning to you, Albert, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's take a look at some of the top stories making headlines in the world of sports. The South African Hockey Association has confirmed that the SA women and men's hockey teams will not be going to the Rio Olympic Games. On the international front, Chelsea has defended its decision to sack Jose Mourinho. Chelsea announced that Mourinho had left the club on mutual consent after 9 consecutive defeats. Staying on the international front, suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter appeared before the Ethics Committee, world's soccer body's governing body, in a case that could end with him being banned from the sport for years. Blatter was suspended on October 8th from all soccer-related activity for 90 days, alongside UEFA chief Michel Platini, pending a full investigation into their conduct. And it's back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Pearl, and it seems like the special one will not have a very special Christmas. But our top story this morning. Provinces involved in the alleged selling of teachers' posts will have to prove to the Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga why she should not freeze those posts. Motshekga announced that she's considering freezing all vacant teachers and principal posts across the country following an interim report about the alleged jobs for cash saga. The investigation found corruption, collusion and undue influence in the appointment of teachers and principals.
Teachers, moral compasses, trusted with our children's education. But now a serious indictment. Some found to be involved in jobs for cash activities. The Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and the Northwest, the hot spots. A task team appointed in September 2014 probed 75 cases. 30 were involved in corruption. Monies paid for teacher posts ranged from between 1 and 50,000 rand. Poor leadership and weak government systems are also highlighted.
There is corruption and undue influence in the appointment of teachers and school principals, that there are weaknesses in the system in general which create this environment.
The task team found that unions have a strong hold on government. calling the shots in nearly half of all teacher and principal appointments.
The report points a strong finger towards SADU.
SADU has distanced itself from the Jobs for Cash scandal.
Whoever is doing it on their individual basis. So the sooner this is expedited, our name will be cleared.
Motshekga says she will soon approach MECs regarding the proposal to freeze vacant posts until a new system of employment has been established. SADU says this will further burden teachers and overcrowded classes. The final report is expected to be released in February. Sipho Stirman, SABC News, Pretoria.
Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, says that not all the provinces are affected by the alleged sale for teachers' post. Minister says that the Northern Cape, Free State and the Western Cape have been cleared. The provinces that are badly affected are the Northwest, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo and the Eastern Cape. Minister Motshekga says there could be a rest soon.
It will really destroy the system if we freeze all teaching posts. When day one comes, there must be a teacher in front of every class. So what I want to propose to those 4 provinces, they must put in mechanisms, at least for 3 months, to appoint promotional posts differently, whilst they're putting in place proper HR systems which are going to avoid what we currently have. So it's only 4 provinces that are badly affected, and we will then propose that they put different mechanisms for appointments of promotional posts only.
Yeah. All right. So it's just those 4 provinces. So we need to get that message out there that those are the ones that are going to be looking at. Now let's look at some of the findings. And we talk about the task team probing a total of 75 cases, 30 of which provided grounds for reasonable suspicion or wrongdoing. How do incidences like this come about?
You know, I just don't want to underestimate that one wrongdoing is one too many. But just bear in mind that, for instance, KZN alone appointed more than 3,000 teachers in 2015. And in those appointments, we picked up only 50 of them that were wrong appointments. So it's not as if the system itself completely is corrupt, but the problem is that if only one incident is wrong, then it is a problem. So it does happen, and the report indicates that it's your SGBs that are involved, your departmental officials are involved, but also your teacher unions or the leadership of different teacher unions are involved. So even the very different teacher unions, not only SADU, I mean, for instance, NATU, the report tells us, refused to participate in the inquiry. So you have different teacher unions implicated, but our officials are implicated, and parents, your SGPs are also implicated.
What do you think actually, not I suppose what you think, we should say, what did the interim report find or reveal the cause for educators to seek to buy these jobs? I mean, could it be the department's recruitment system that perhaps is not up to scratch? Or what do you think is behind it?
I mean, it's greed and corruption, because promotional posts come with power, with money. The stakes are high. So there's always a temptation to really jump the system or to be mischievous about those promotional posts. But I'm saying, and I gave you an example about KZN, that last year alone they had to appoint more than 3,000, and we picked up less than 50 cases where there was corruption. So the system functions well, the policies are in place, the report does say that the policies are fine, but there are weaknesses in the system which have allowed this to happen, where indeed, because of too many people involved or the value chain system and some weaknesses in other provinces, as I say, those 4 provinces in particular, then the difficulties crept in.
What is going to be done about these weaknesses? How are you going to repair them?
They are quite, I mean, the report points out to a number of things that recommends a number of things. Some are short-term, some will be interim, some are long-term. The long-term ones, they also propose that we have to change some legislation to tighten the systems of appointment, and there is a very protracted system in government about how you change laws. So that's a long term. The intermediate term, the medium term is to get HR teams from national or even from other provinces to go and work with those 4 provinces to strengthen their HR system, because it's really management and administrative weaknesses which have led to some of the problems. And the immediate terms is to ensure that in those 4 provinces, when there are promotional, where there are promotional posts, there are teams separate from the current process that makes those appointments.
I mean, when we look a bit deeper into the report, it says it's not only the teachers, district officials are implicated, governing bodies are implicated. So there's a number of players, as I know you said.
Because the system is quite long, because it starts from the school.
So it's too complicated.
Yeah, it's a long process.
The issue of the unions, and this is a big issue. I mean, we saw SATU denying it, but their name keeps coming up. So there's got to be some relevance to it.
Now, you know, organized formations, people do as individuals in the name of their positions, wield power. So it's true, SATU as an organization will obviously not have, I don't expect any self-respecting organization to have a policy to say we are going to have posts for sale. But individuals within those organizations using their positions would exploit their positions, and I think that's where they come from, and which I agree that it's possible that it's not an organizational decision, but it is individuals who hold offices in those organizations who are responsible.
Could we see some arrests happening in the near future?
Not definitely, because we are already, not definitely. There are cases where the team says there's clear evidence of wrongdoing, so those are going to be sent to the police. The team says, because it's not an investigative team, there's going to be a need for either the Hawks and the police to come on board to help us with deeper investigations. Those are going to refer to them. There are also cases that are referring to us for disciplinary processes. We are going to set up with the provinces teams to undertake disciplinary measures. So there is definitely going to be consequences.
Just again, getting back to the report, does it tell us how long this has been going on for? How far back does this date?
Leanne, I have to be honest, when I was MEC, I used to always get frantic calls of people who complained about interference, and we used to deal with them case by case. So it really, it's been a practice in the sector, but as MECs, we used to deal with them case by case on an ongoing basis. But now it's quite clear that it had spread out, and like a virus, that now it's not longer case by case, it's a systematic, the individuals whose business it is to sell posts, which is much more different. So we've not gone back to say how long have they been selling posts. The final report will tell us, because some of the tips we're getting, and that's why we need to get the police to come in. The final report will tell us how long has the system now been systematized. But the contestation about posts, it's as long as I was in the sector.
Meanwhile, Teachers Union SATU has called for a separate independent investigation into the alleged selling of teachers' posts so that corrupt officials can be held to account. The union was reacting after the Basic Education Department undertook to investigate all cases that had come to light. This followed the Minister Angie Machega's release of a preliminary report by a task team into numerous claims that posts had been given to individuals who paid cash to secure their jobs. The task team probed 75 cases and found that 30 of them provided grounds for reasonable suspicion of wrongdoing. President Jacob Zuma has called on all South Africans to remember the less fortunate this festive season. He handed gifts, school uniforms and shoes to orphans in Zambela Township in the Free State.
Putting their best foot forward for the VIP delegation and on the receiving end of some Christmas cheer.
President Jacob Zuma has appealed to communities across the country to help spread the festive cheer by checking on households that are headed by children and the elderly.
During this period, we remind ourselves and communities that we should care for all children in our communities, especially those without parents. Due to various social problems in our country, from violence, HIV to other causes, we have a large number of orphans.
Religious leaders prayed for the president following a torrid fortnight which saw 2 finance ministers fired, markets tumbling, and calls for him to step down. And then a swipe at his critics.
And when the ANC takes decisions, some of the leaders of the ANC, they don't want to say those decisions are our decisions. They want to make those decisions the decision of Jacob Zuma. Wala Zuma ta defendwa ke bang ha sa defendwe ke setjhaba. Young and old, Maburwana re ke re pushetse morao. They've been supporting apartheid. You never see them anywhere in our national events. And today they are able to stand up and say Zuma must fall.
Earlier, the president opened a mushroom factory. The facility will create over 3,000 jobs through direct foreign investment from the Chinese. And more entertainment from orphans. This group sponsored by a Chinese company.
And in China, it was cold, very cold. It was snowing, always performing, but it's cool to stand in front of million people and perform.
President Zuma also opened a tire plant. Tumalo Mutlaudi, SABC News, Sasolburg.
A document that South African Airways tried to keep from the public is now flying across the internet. The Johannesburg High Court has set aside a court interdict that barred the Business Day and other publications from releasing the internal memo. Now, the document paints a bleak picture of the financial state of SAA and the implications if it does go ahead with a deal championed by the chair of the National Carriers Board. Lawyers representing the media houses argued last week that the memo was already in the public domain. SAA argued that the legal right of privilege was key in this case and that public interest should not override it. But Judge Ronald Sutherland was concerned about why SAA's lawyers hadn't alerted the journalists about their intention to get a court order, saying that the proper processes weren't followed. The government has taken steps to end tenderpreneurship within the water tanker business. Water and Sanitation Minister Nomvula Mokonyane has handed over water trucks to the government of the Northwest Province.
Water shortage across many communities remain a daily nightmare. In some communities, allegations of sabotage of local water supply resources by both truck owners and government officials is still rife. The income of a single water tankering truck each year is over 20 million rand, making this business profitable. Now the new trucks offer new hope for communities battling with water supply at a fraction of the cost by outsourced suppliers.
Each truck costs almost 1.3 million, fitted with everything that has to do with the supply of water. It's much more cheaper compared to us going out to tender, because what we normally spend, we spend not less than 20 million per year on one truck.
While water tankering is a temporary measure for battling communities, a lasting solution has already commenced.
More than 150 million in terms of the work that we are doing in the Northwest has already been put in terms of the refurbishment of boreholes, the upgrade of our pipelines, and in total, the Northwest has a tune of about 1.6 billion investment that is focused on water from different grants coming from government.
Those who have benefited from these lucrative but illegal and corrupt businesses will now face the might of the law.
They must not allow anybody who is going to want to disrupt the operations of the trucks, because they want to induce tenders, they want to induce business for their own nefarious agenda of milking the state. That is not going to be allowed.
The provincial government is also urging communities to use water sparingly, especially as the country is in a grip of a severe drought. Kabelo Molopi, SABC News, Murule.
Well, that's your news for now. We'll be taking a break, and after that, Paul Chongwe will be back with your sports news.
The son of Africa, Trevor Noah, is leaving America in stitches.
I never dreamed that I would one day have, well, two things really. An indoor toilet and a job as host of The Daily Show.
We are the first to bring you the latest films around the globe.
Dear white people, the minimum requirement of black friends needed to not seem racist has just been raised to 2.
Cobhams Asako is a gifted blind musician, a master of soothing notes from the piano.
I love to sit behind the piano. That also helps me find inspiration.
Join Refulo Mulwa every Friday for that 1-hour weekly dose of art and entertainment news at 9 p.m. on Trends.
Thanks so much for staying with us right here on Newsroom. Now, the Ethics Committee of Soccer's world governing body, FIFA, will turn their attention to Vice President and UEFA Chief Michel Platini in Zurich, Switzerland today. But Platini won't be attending the hearing into a controversial payment he received from outgoing President Sepp Blatter, which took place 4 years ago. Blatter appeared before the committee on Thursday. FIFA is reeling from the worst corruption scandal in its more than 100-year history, with 41 people already charged by US prosecutors.
Blatter and Platini were suspended for 90 days in October, pending the outcome of a full investigation into their conduct. This after the Swiss Attorney General's office started criminal proceedings against Blatter over the 30 million rand payment to his deputy in 2011. Both men have denied any wrongdoing. Blatter insists the payment was above board. He says the two had a verbal contract and Platini was remunerated for work done for FIFA years before. On Thursday, Blatter spent 8 hours defending the payment to the committee, made up of 4 judges. Day 2 will focus on Platini, but his lawyers have indicated that he will boycott proceedings. He believes his case has been prejudged. A ruling in the matter is expected early next week. If found guilty, the two could be banned from the sport for years. The Swiss Justice Ministry has since confirmed that it has frozen millions of Swiss francs in 50 bank accounts relating to FIFA following a request from US investigators. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has described Blatter as a very respected person who deserved to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Putin made the comments during his annual news conference in Moscow. He added that Blatter's contribution to the humanitarian sphere in the world was colossal. Putin also reiterated that Russia won the rights to host the 2018 World Cup fairly. Russia, however, was suspended from athletics last month after a World Anti-Doping Agency report exposed widespread state-sponsored doping and related corruption in that country. Russian athletes are now set to miss the World Indoor Championships in Portland in the United States in March, and are in a race against time to be cleared to compete in the Rio de Janeiro Olympics in August next year. Liesel Zankel, SABC News.
Staying with FIFA news, suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter left FIFA's headquarters in Zurich after appearing before the Ethics Committee of World Soccer's governing body in a case that could end with him being banned from the sport for years. Blatter was suspended on October 8 from all soccer-related activity for 90 days alongside UEFA Chief Michel Platini, pending a full investigation into their conduct. The FIFA ethics inquiry began in the wake of the Swiss Attorney General's office decision to open criminal proceedings against Blatter over a R2 million payment made to Platini back in 2011. Blatter and Platini have both denied any wrongdoing. Platini, who had intended to run for the FIFA presidency, was due to be heard by the committee today, but has refused to attend, saying the process against him is purely political. Separately, a spokesman for the Swiss Justice Ministry said on Thursday it had frozen millions of Swiss francs related to FIFA in response to a request from US investigators. On to international football news, Chelsea's technical director Michael Emenalo said that he had to part ways with the manager Jose Mourinho was to protect the interests of the club. The TD said that owner Roman Abramovich had to act because of a palpable discord between manager and his players. Mourinho was dismissed by the Premier League champions after a poor run of the results left the club to a point above the relegation zone some 7 months after leading them to the league title. Chelsea fell to their 9th defeat of the season on Monday to log leaders Leicester City. The relegation favourites have surprised many this season, and their boss Claudio Ranieri has ruled himself out of a return to Stamford Bridge. Guus Hiddink is the favourite to take over as interim manager. Former Chelsea striker Matija Kezman told Croatian website that the Dutchman had informed him that he had already landed the job. Chelsea are 16th on the log after 16 games and next host Sunderland. The announcement made on the club's website confirming the move did not confirm who would next take charge. On to local football news, Kaizer Chiefs play Bidvest in a Premier Soccer League match at the Cape Town Stadium on Saturday, 1,400 kilometers from their home base. Chiefs will want to bounce back after their 3-1 defeat to Mamelodi Sundowns in the Telkom Knockout Cup final that took place this past Wednesday evening.
Chiefs have signed a deal with the city of Cape Town, which will see them play 3 of their home games in the mother city, starting with the game against Wits on Saturday, then further matches against Platinum Stars and SuperSport United in January and February next year.
We're very keen to connect with our supporters, bring our players here, bring the game to the people, going into the community, doing soccer clinics, and really just sharing the Kaizer Chiefs experience.
The Amakosi will have their work cut out against the Clever Boys, who currently top the PSL log under the guidance of Gavin Hunt.
Well, Wits University, they're under a good technical team. The head coach, Gavin Hunt, he has changed the team tremendously. He has brought in new players and they've done very well. I mean, you can tell by the way they are. They're on top at the moment, number one, and they've been doing very well.
Cape Town Stadium was abuzz with the Cape Town Sevens this past weekend. It should be pretty full on Saturday with the mighty Amakosi in town. Craig Murray, SABC News, Cape Town.
On to boxing news. 12 local and international boxers will meet in the ring in East London tonight in a much-anticipated 6-title bout tournament. The bill includes a matchup between a former world champion Zolani Tete against the Filipino Jetha Olivia for the WBO Africa Bantamweight strap.
Former world champion Zolani Tete, who will be fighting against Philippine boxer Jetha Oliva, says the fight will be a walk in the park.
I've been here in the sport for a while now. I've been an IBF champion. I don't recall him being a champion. I'm not underestimating him, but I'm just emphasizing the level. I'm going to beat him up too.
But Oliva is opportunistic.
A little chance, but even if he's taller than me, I know I can manage myself above the ring, and I know I can do it to win this fight.
The tournament promises to be tough as all boxers are determined to make a mark and win the titles they are fighting for. Busiswe Jamsana, SABC News, East London.
In surfing, Brazilian Adriano de Souza clinched the 2015 World Surf League title at the world-renowned Banzai Pipeline, which took place in Hawaii. In the process, he also became the first Brazilian to win the Billabong Pipe Masters in memory of Andy Irons. D'Souza's title-clinching performance came with a significant wave of emotions as the dedicated victory to fallen compatriot Ricardo dos Santos, who died earlier this year. The final day of the championship tour began with 3 contenders in the hunt for the world surfing crown: Mick Fanning, Gabriel Medina and D'Souza. Fanning's quarter-final win over Kelly Stater ousted Medina from the race, but a late big air maneuver from Medina in the semi-final eliminated the Australian from the competition, which left D'Souza the task of winning his semi-final, which would give him the world title. He beat wildcard Mason Ho to claim the crown. After an injury-affected season, South Africa's Jordy Smith ended in 28th place. When it comes to surfing for the year, it's South Africa's Bianca Buitendorp who shone, ending the year ranked 4th after 4 podium finishes. And in cricket, the cream of the crop of young cricketers gathered in the windy city of Port Elizabeth to participate in the Coca-Cola Under-19 Kayamajola Cricket Week. The youngsters are competing to be selected for the Proteas Under-19 squad that will see them represent South Africa in Bangladesh next month.
The Coca-Cola Kayamajola Cricket Week has been in existence for the past 50 years. 200 school players are participating in this year's edition. Proteas captain Hashim Amla, A.B. de Villiers, Themba Bavuma and Kagiso Rabada are some of the household names that have come through the ranks here.
There's a different pressure this year, and I think the quality of players we're seeing over the 18 months that I've been in the job, the number of players that we've been able to give an opportunity of exposure has been something that has excited me.
Fast bowler Lotho Sipamla has already had a taste of success. Sipamla took part when his SA team lost a series against Bangladesh in the ODIs.
Just keep excelling in my cricket, keep working hard and keep just enduring and fight hard in the matches that I'm playing right now. Try to take as many wickets as possible going forward, and hopefully everything goes well for me.
The final squad will be announced on Sunday evening. The World Cup takes place from the 22nd of January to 4th February next year. Zolani Moya, SABC News, Port Elizabeth.
And that's all your sports news for the moment. Newsroom is about to take a quick break, but Eben will be back with more after this.
Hello, it's a favorite minister here. Yane, party is a very nice language because it was written by you, the people. Here's a good one. Try hard, and the individual will rise against all odds. Hoy! Give me water!
Bryhards, keep cool with the case of Costa Light for $179.99 and help make party South Africa's 12th official language. Tops at Spa. Shake things up.
Welcome back. You're still with Newsroom. Time for us now to take a look at the news around the continent. Well, voting stations opened at around 7 a.m. this morning as Rwandans cast their vote in a referendum on changing the country's constitution. This would allow President Paul Kagame to extend his term in office, meaning he could rule until 2034. The 58-year-old Kagame has been president since the year 2000. The voting process comes despite criticism of the amendment by Western powers. Similar moves have already sparked violence and instability in Burundi and the Congo Republic, but no unrest has yet erupted in Rwanda. The African Union Peace and Security Council has authorized that 5,000 peacekeepers be sent to Burundi. The proposal invokes a rule which allows it to deploy troops without Burundi's leaders' consent. However, in recent weeks, Burundi's presidency has rejected calls for a peacekeeping mission. President Pierre Nkurunziza has 96 hours to respond to the AU resolution. The United Nations has been accused of greatly mishandling allegations of child sexual abuse by peacekeepers in the Central African Republic. This according to a report released by independent review panel yesterday. At least 13 French soldiers, 2 from Equatorial Guinea and 3 Chadian troops were implicated in the alleged abuse of children between December 2013 and June of 2014. It is alleged that those implicated were not under the command of the United Nations at the time. However, the UN's investigations have been heavily criticized. Meanwhile, more than 380,000 children in northern Mali have not been able to attend school due to security fears there. About 600 teachers have been forced to flee their classrooms, causing the schools to close. This according to the latest findings by the United Nations Children's Fund. Children between the ages of 7 and 15 have been out of school for 4 years following the conflict between rival groups. Since a peace deal was struck in June, clashes have subsided, but limited access to the worst-hit area, Kidal, is preventing efforts of improving the education there. Nigeria's government yesterday prevented a coup and arrested those accused of trying to seize power. Nigeria President Muhammadu Isufu said in a statement that those arrested plan to use aerial firepower to take control. Isufu was elected in 2011, just 1 year after a coup. Tensions are rising as the nation prepares for the presidential election in February of next year. Although Isufu is popular among voters, the opposition has accused his government of repression ahead of the vote in that country. Meanwhile, the MTN Group says it will challenge a fine of more than 50 billion rand in the Nigerian High Court in Lagos. MTN says it's resolved that the fine wasn't within the powers of the country's telecommunications regulator to impose. The Nigerian communications regulator imposed a penalty on MTN for failing to meet a deadline to disconnect 5.1 million unregistered subscribers. A payment deadline was set for the 31st of December, when the fine was reduced from a higher amount earlier this month. We stay in Nigeria. Boko Haram's violent insurgency has left at least 2 million Nigerians homeless in their own country, and vast areas of the northeast remain no-go areas there. Well, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Let's take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll get back to that story. See you now.
It's a favorite minister here. Yane, party is a very nice language because it was written by you, the people. Here's a good one. Try hard, an individual who tries against all odds. Hoy! Give me water!
Rhyhards, keep cool with a case of Costa Light for $179.99 and help make party South Africa's 12th official language. Tops at Spa. Shake things up.
Welcome back. Let's carry on with our look at what is going on in the continent by having a look at the headlines around the continent today. We'll start in Zambia. The Post reports that the United Nations Residence Coordinator Janet Rogan says President Edgar Lungu must ensure that the Public Order Act is reviewed immediately to advance people's right to freedom of expression in the country. Then, in Zimbabwe, The Chronicle says newly appointed Swiss representative to Zimbabwe, Ruth Huber, said the country will soon be an economic hub in southern Africa and Switzerland wouldn't want to miss out on that opportunity. Finally, in Namibia, the Namibian reports that the company chosen for a multi-billion-dollar contract to fix Namibia's looming electricity crisis failed to meet basic set requirements. Now, over the past few weeks, we've covered several key aspects of the South African economy from both an external and internal point of view. So today, we want to do two things. Firstly, review the highlights of the economy over the past 12 months, and secondly, to look into the crystal ball for 2016. Bear in mind, this interview was conducted prior to the Fed rate hike, the drama that unfolded with the sacking of Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene, the appointment of David van Rooyen, and the reappointment of Pravin Gordhan as the new Finance Minister, whereafter Fitch downgraded our banks as well. Last week, we were joined by economics professor Raymond Parsons from the Northwest University Business School to give us his wrap of 2015. He spoke to Elvis Presley.
I think we've got to accept that this year South Africa has drifted into a low growth trap. We're talking about growth of about 1%. We've got the so-called twin deficits, the one on the budget and the one on the balance of payments. So these all have shaped, plus other factors which we've discussed before, how we've got to this point. Now, this is the point at which, at this time of the year, the rating agencies begin to put us under the microscope, and they look at these factors, how you're handling the deficits, what are your growth prospects, and so forth. Now, there are two elements to the evaluation which we expect this afternoon. The first is their actual rating, and Fitch and Standard & Poor's are not on the same rating. The one is a little higher, and the other one's lower. In the one case, if they change, we'll go into junk status. In the other case, we'll end up just above it. So we'll have to see what they decide. And secondly, they will also define the outlook as they see it, and that is it a stable outlook or is it a negative outlook? So those are the two variables we must watch for today. My concern is not so much what they might decide today. It may be better than we think, it may be worse than we think, but I'm more worried about what's happening afterwards, what they will expect us later. And we'll have to talk a little bit about the future, because it's sending us a signal. Whether we accept the entire signal or not, that's not the issue. And I think even the Minister of Finance has said, look, whatever they decide will have an impact on the markets, such as the Rand, their interpretation of that message. So I think among the other important things that have happened this week, this is quite an important event. What the two agencies will say. Well, I think they'll be wanting to know whether, firstly, we are getting our government spending under control and keeping it under control, as the Minister of Finance did indicate in his mini-budget earlier this year, but that looking forward to the main budget in February, he will be able to demonstrate that he's got it under control, even if he may have to contemplate having to put up some taxes, and that's another story altogether. And then there is, of course, our ability to pay our way in the world. That is the actual deficit on the current account of the balance of payments, and then what all these consequences are for unemployment and so forth. So they take quite an holistic view, and those are the criteria upon which they base their assessments.
China and South Africa is meeting here in South Africa. Is that perhaps a positive signal? 94 billion rand in trade deals already? I think it is a positive signal in the sense that I think these meetings have been at a level that they really constitute a game changer in our relations, in our bilateral relations with China. And I think it's important in the broader context. We mustn't do the right thing for the wrong reasons. We must do it because it's in our interest to diversify and to tap into growing markets. Although China is going through a difficult period at the moment, it's still becoming one of the biggest players in the world. The IMF has just included their currency in that elite group, that basket of currencies where they have the IMF together with sterling and the dollar and the euro. And for a developing country to be recognized in that way is important. And I think it's important for all the other developing countries to know that at the IMF level there is indeed this quantitative recognition, albeit quite symbolic at this point. So we've got to capitalize on these agreements. We must sort out, of course, the rhetoric from the reality. We must look at these agreements in a hard-nosed way. I think what we want out of them is a win-win situation, because
at the moment, the trade balance is very much in the favor of China. China's also being perhaps criticized because they bring staff here and they don't use their own staff, at least our staff here. So there are things that have to be discussed. But I think the overall picture, we've got to ensure that we translate the potential of what is on paper into a win-win situation for South Africa. And I think that's the important challenge we face, which must come out of this week, bearing in mind the perspective that at the end of the day, Africa only constitutes 3% of the foreign direct investment of China. So we can only increase that share. We can only work at it. And of course, we want to maximize the benefits of the agreements that have been signed.
Of course, that was an interview that was recorded about, well, just over a week ago now. Back to that story in Nigeria, Boko Haram's violent insurgency has left at least 2 million Nigerians homeless in their own country, and vast areas of the northeast remain no-go areas.
Northeastern Nigeria, and one of the larger camps for people displaced by the insurgency. But camps like this are just the tip of the iceberg. Vast swathes of countryside and no-go areas for aid workers. The over 2 million people known to have been made homeless inside Nigeria by the fighting is a minimum figure. As well as those made homeless within Nigeria, many fled to neighbouring Cameroon, but the insurgency has spread there too. So at this border crossing, some Nigerians are now returning home, preferring danger here to danger abroad.
Boko Haram destroy places, they are destroyers. They destroy places, many places they destroy, and they destroy life.
It's not hard to see why people are cruelly scattered across the country. This strategic road junction was briefly held by the insurgents a year ago. The Nigerian army is back in charge here, but there was clearly a terrifying fight, and it will take time to rebuild. In many parts of the world, help for a crisis of this magnitude is led by international aid agencies. But in Nigeria, a large and relatively powerful country, local people, like these Nigerian Air Force doctors treating the homeless sick, are playing a key role. That doesn't mean they can do it all.
70% of needs has been addressed by the government of Nigeria. But the government of Nigeria also needs some capacity on how to deal with the emergency, the know-how of the response, how to respond to an emergency of this magnitude. And then that is what we as UNHCR we are bringing.
The UN Refugee Agency also fills some practical gaps. Simple things like mattresses for the homeless. With the scale of the crisis now larger than most thought, every bit of help is welcome.
Well, time now to shift our focus to conservation. Rhino conservation, that is. Now, 50/50 presenter and filmmaker Bonnie de Bod. Well, she's going to talk to Elvis about the DNA database for the country's rhinos.
National parks across the continent are trying to step up security and anti-poaching forces in order to combat the plight of elephant and rhino poaching. This year alone, hundreds of elephant and rhino have been killed. But scientific developments, specifically the Rhino DNA indexing system database, are hoping to assist in this fight. The Veterinary Genetics Laboratory is collecting DNA samples of rhinos across the country to create a database using the unique DNA profile of individual rhinos in hopes that this will deter poachers and assist in forensic prosecutions. Joining us now in studio is presenter and producer of 50/50, Bonnie de Bod. Bonnie, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back.
First and foremost, talk to me about the numbers. It seems like they're escalating.
Yes, Elvis, you know, the stats are always sobering to look at. And as of August, unfortunately, we are sitting on 749 rhinos poached for their horns this year. And, you know, that number is quite something, which translates to 3 to 4 rhinos every single day. So somewhere in South Africa, at least 3 rhinos will lose their lives because of this desire to own and use rhino horn by the Vietnamese and the Chinese.
Talk to me about the rhino DNA indexing system or database, or the RODIS system.
Look, there are several scenarios when they found a carcass and the process that they take from there. Cabinet has listed rhino poaching as a priority crime, so the carcass in itself is a crime scene. Now, I'm not going to talk about how the crime scene is worked by the forensic investigators, as that is confidential, and unfortunately poachers also watch television. And we've learned now that they adapt their ways based on information coming out of forensic investigations. But the carcasses and the crime scenes I've witnessed in Kruger have been incredibly thorough. I always say it sometimes feels like I'm in a CSI television program. But having said that, I've also been to crime scenes on private game reserves and farms, and it seems like they are handled a little bit differently. Obviously, there are crimes that are more important in certain areas, murders, aggravated assault, house robberies, and so on. But at all the crime scenes, a DNA kit is used. And that information is not confidential. I would love to talk about it because the forensics behind it is just so fascinating. Talk to me about that. So are you talking about DNA as in the blood and tissue sample? Exactly. So blood and tissue samples of the dead rhino are collected and then sent to Pretoria to be analysed by the Onderstepoort's veterinary genetics lab. Now, this lab is run by Dr. Cindy Harper and her team. They process the DNA and then loads it into a database called RODIS. Now, the FBI created one very similar for humans called CODIS, but it works exactly the same in the 1980s. So let's say a crime is committed, a rape. The evidence will be taken from the victim, and a profile of the offender will be taken from the DNA. So this unknown profile will then be searched throughout the database, and if there's a match, obviously they will arrest this person. But you'll be able to see who the person is and where they live. And so let's say, so that's DNA, it's very clever. And all rhinos have unique DNA as well. So Elvis, let's say rhinos are confiscated at the airport. Let's say rhino horns are confiscated at the airport. DNA from the horn can be taken, collected, and then put into the RODIS database. If a rhino matches the system, then Dr. Cindy Harper and her team will be able to tell us where the horn came from. So let's say it came from Kruger and from a poached animal. Well, then we have a match to a carcass from which to prosecute from.
I see. So it's very intricate. But now, you were with Mark Boucher on several rhino DNA collections. Was this for the DNA database?
Yeah, Mark has put his full weight into rhino conservation, and he invited me to come with him to an area in South Africa to see how his organization is working with private game reserves, collecting DNA samples to add to this database. He is incredibly committed to registering all rhinos in South Africa into the RODIS database. He also donated a very high-tech machine worth 2.5 million rand. They call it a genetic analyzer. And this enables them to speed up the rhino DNA profiling process. And I mean, you can just imagine with the numbers, the increasing numbers of poaching, those guys at the lab, I mean, they're really working overtime.
Now, before we go, just how many successful prosecutions have we had because of the rhino DNA indexing system?
Well, obviously, there are current cases which can't be counted, but according to Dr. Harper, they've had at least 8 successful prosecutions. And now, I know time is running out, but there's just one case that's really amazing. A syndicate leader, a suspected syndicate leader, was arrested. No horns. Just a checkers bag in a car and some sort of a flaky substance in the bottom of the checkers bag. It was put into the RODIS database, and then Cindy Harper could see that this matched to not only one, but several poached carcasses from Kruger. So that guy was nailed, and that's thanks to the Rhodes database.
Wonderful. Where to from here, just briefly?
Well, I'll be carrying on with this slot every second Tuesday, and of course continuing to film for Strip, the documentary on the rhino poaching crisis.
Bonnie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Warm welcome. Let's take a look at your satellite image where we're still seeing moisture situated over the interior of South Africa. But taking a look at your forecast, we're seeing 30% chance of showers over the interior of Mpumalanga, moving towards Gauteng, and it will move over some parts of Northwest as well. North of that, we're seeing 30 to 60% chance of rainfall covering most parts of Zimbabwe, and over the northern parts of Mozambique, where we're also seeing 80% chance of showers covering most parts of Pemba. Over the central interior of Madagascar, we're seeing about 100% chance of showers over the central interior, and out of that, we're seeing 30% chance of showers. Tomorrow, we're still seeing 30% chance of showers situated over Mpumalanga, moving over towards Gauteng and some parts of Limpopo. Along the coastal regions, 30% chance of showers coming in with some cold air over these regions, resulting to cool temperatures over those regions. 30 over the interior of Mpumalanga, and north of that, about 30 to 60% chance of showers. Temperatures will reach a maximum of 34 over Pretoria, 22 for Harare. Isolated thunder showers forecast over the interior, mostly sunny to partly cloudy along the coastal regions for today. Lusaka reaching a maximum of 26 degrees. The central interior, we're seeing 30 to 60% chance of showers, about 80 over the central interior, and moving towards Kampala, we're seeing 30% chance of showers, in Nairobi as well. Mogadishu covered by 60% chance of showers for today. Tomorrow, we're seeing much less rainfall over most parts of the central interior, about 30 to 60, and Kampala covered by 30% chance of showers for tomorrow. Temperatures are expected to reach a maximum of 24 over Kampala with partly cloudy skies. Drizzle along the west coastal regions. Brazzaville at a maximum of 31 degrees and 28 over Luanda. Bangui sunny with a maximum of 35 degrees. Over Sanaa, 30% chance of showers, otherwise clear skies to partly cloudy over most parts of these areas, with Baghdad clear, Riyadh covered by clear skies. Damascus, 30% chance of showers is expected for tomorrow, and Cairo as well covered by 30% chance of showers for tomorrow. That is all from the weather desk. Ndayando.
This week we are taking you around the continent, telling you stories about what makes Africa, Africa.
We now head to the Kenyan coast, where we meet a man using needles to fight a growing drug culture.
A recent study revealed that there are 850 drug addicts in Diani alone, with over 220 using injectable drugs such as heroin.
In my community, I've seen a lot of these people suffer.
The Journal, every Saturday at 1:30 on SABC News.
It's 1100 hours Central Africa time on this Friday, the 18th of December 2015. This is Newsroom, Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to the final hour. I'm Elvis Preston. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock, and you have to stay with us as we broadcast live from Auckland Park Studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. As you know, we're also streaming live on YouTube with the entire show available on our YouTube channel. But first, let's take a look at all your news headlines. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga talks to SABC News about the alleged selling of teachers' posts. The festive season death toll nears the 500 mark already. And a document that SAA tried to keep from the public is now flying across the internet. Those are some of your stories coming up, but first let's find out from Pearl what's happening on the sports front. A very good morning to you, Pearl.
Good morning, Elvis. Thank you so much. Let's take you through what's happening in the world of sports. The South African Hockey Association has confirmed that the SA women and men's hockey teams will not be going to the Rio Olympic Games. On the international front, Chelsea has defended its decision to sack Jose Mourinho. Chelsea announced that Mourinho had left the club on mutual consent after 9 consecutive defeats. Still on international sports news, suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter appeared before the Ethics Committee, World Soccer's governing body, in a case that could end with him banned from the sport for years. Blatter was suspended on October 8 from all soccer-related activity for 90 days alongside UEFA chief Michel Platini, pending a full investigation into their conduct. We've got all that and more sports coming up a bit later on, but for now it's back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Pearl. Top story this hour. Teachers Union SATU has called for a separate, independent investigation into the alleged selling of teachers' posts so that corrupt officials can be held to account. The union was reacting after the Basic Education Department undertook to investigate all cases that had come to light. This followed Minister Angie Motshekga's release of a preliminary report by a task team into numerous claims that posts had been given to individuals who paid cash to secure the jobs. The task team probed 75 cases and found that 30 of them proved or provided grounds for reasonable suspicion of wrongdoing. President Jacob Zuma has called on South Africans to remember the less fortunate this festive season. He handed gifts, school uniforms and shoes to orphans in Zamdela Township in the Free State.
Putting their best foot forward for the VIP delegation and on the receiving end of some Christmas cheer. President Jacob Zuma has appealed to communities across the country to help spread the festive cheer by checking on households that are headed by children and the elderly.
During this period, we remind ourselves and communities that we should care for all children in our communities, especially those without parents. Due to various social problems in our country, from violence, HIV to other causes, we have a large number of orphans.
Religious leaders prayed for the president following a torrid fortnight which saw 2 finance ministers fired, markets tumbling, and calls for him to step down. And then a swipe at his critics.
And when the ANC takes decisions, some of the leaders of the ANC, they don't want to say those decisions are our decisions. They want to make those decisions the decision of Jacob Zuma. Well, Zuma ta defend young and old. They've been supporting apartheid. You never see them anywhere in our national events. And today they are able to stand up and say Zuma must fall.
Earlier, the president opened a mushroom factory. The facility will create over 3,000 jobs, through direct foreign investment from the Chinese. And more entertainment from Orphans, this group sponsored by a Chinese company.
And in China, it was cold, very cold. It was snowing, always performing, but it's cool to stand in front of million people and perform.
President Zuma also opened a tire plant. Tumalo Mutlaudi, SABC News, Sasolburg.
A document that SAA tried to keep from the public is now flying across the internet. The Johannesburg High Court has set aside a court interdict that barred Business Day and other publications from releasing the internal memo. It paints a very bleak picture of the financial state of the South African Airways and the implications if it goes ahead with a deal that was championed by the chair of the National Carriers Board. Lawyers representing the media houses argued last week that the memo was already in the public domain. SAA argued that the legal right of privilege was key in this case and that public interest should not override it. But Judge Roland Sutherland was concerned about why SAA's lawyers hadn't alerted the journalist about their intention to get a court order saying that the proper processes weren't followed. The government has taken steps to end tenderpreneurship within the water tanker business. Water and Sanitation Minister Nomvula Mokonyane has handed over water trucks to the government of the Northwest Province.
Water shortage across many communities remain a daily nightmare. In some communities, allegations of sabotage of local water supply resources by both truck owners and government officials is still rife. The income of a single water tankering truck each year is over 20 million rand, making this business profitable. Now the new trucks offer new hope for communities battling with water supply at a fraction of the cost by outsourced suppliers.
Each truck costs almost 1.3 million, fitted with everything that has to do with the supply of water. It's much more cheaper compared to us going out to tender, because what we normally spend, we spend not less than 20 million per year on one truck.
While water tankering is a temporary measure for battling communities, a lasting solution has already commenced.
More than 150 million in terms of the work that we are doing in the Northwest has already been put in terms of the refurbishment of boreholes, the upgrade of our pipelines, and in total, the Northwest has a tune of about 1.6 billion investment that is focused on water from different grants coming from government.
Those who have benefited from these lucrative but illegal and corrupt businesses will now face the might of the law.
They must not allow anybody who is going to want to disrupt the operations of the trucks, because they want to induce tenders, they want to induce business for their own nefarious agenda of milking the state. That is not going to be allowed.
The provincial government is also urging communities to use water sparingly, especially as the country is in a grip of a severe drought. Kabelo Molopi, SABC News, Murule.
The United Nations Security Council has passed a draft resolution seeking to choke the financial resources of ISIS. In a historic first-time meeting of finance ministers in the Council, it was decided that all states, individuals or entities shall implement asset freezes, travel bans and an arms embargo against the group or face sanctions.
It's a unanimous global call to financial arms against the most well-financed and resourced terrorist groups on the planet.
Terrorism needs money. ISIL operates as a state and provides all the services a state is expected to provide. Therefore, ISIL needs more money than other terrorist groups. Money is its biggest vulnerability. Preventing and disrupting financial flows must be at the center of any successful strategy to defeat ISIL. Disrupting the finances of ISIL damages its ability to recruit fighters. ISIL needs access to financial system to move money and pay for supplies.
The Council resolution seeking to target the group's revenue streams from, among others, the illicit sale of oil and ancient artifacts, which have netted the group hundreds of millions of dollars.
It calls on member states to ensure they have the legal tools to criminalize the financing of individual terrorists and terrorist organizations for any purpose: recruiting, training, travel, and other activities, even in the absence of a link to a specific terrorist act. It calls upon member states to increase engagement with the private sector to prevent terrorist use of the financial system. And it encourages governments to better share information internally and between nations to avoid missing critical information about terrorist activities.
The UN Secretary-General called on all member states to have in place the necessary legal regime, institutions and expertise to identify and freeze terrorist financing and assets. Sherman Briceby's SABC News, New York.
European Council President Donald Tusk says that he's more optimistic of finding an agreement with Britain on EU reforms. Earlier, Tusk claimed that the British Prime Minister, David Cameron's demands on migrant benefits were unacceptable. Cameron wants restrictions on the ability of other EU citizens to claim welfare within 4 years of moving, and an agreement that can reduce the influx of EU migrants. However, after a night of negotiations in Brussels and Belgium, Tusk says that Cameron is open to further negotiations on his list of reforms.
We are absolutely sure that we have to be tough when it comes to some red lines and fundamental values. And I can promise you that we will not give up when it comes to free movement or anti-discrimination. But I know today that David Cameron is looking for fair and but also substantive compromise, and this is why I am much more optimistic today than before our meeting.
IMF chief Christine Lagarde says that she'll appeal a decision by the French court to bring her to trial for alleged negligence over a payment worth close to 10 billion rand to a businessman in 2008. Lagarde was the finance minister in President Nicolas Sarkozy's government at the time of the compensation award to the businessman Bernard Tapie. Now, he was once a majority shareholder in Adidas, but he sold it in 1993 to become a cabinet minister. He sued the Credit Lyonnais bank over its handling of the sale, alleging that the partly state-owned bank had defrauded him by deliberately undervaluing the company. French Finance Minister Michel Sapin says that the decision to take her to trial should not prevent her from doing her job. And finally, it wouldn't be a perfect holiday season without a new project from the Jingle Cats. This year, Jingle Cats creator Mike Spurler has brought the festive felines back to life, but in animated claymation form. Well, how's that for a jingle bells with a purr? But let's take a break. We'll be back right after that. And Evan standing by.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we have been banned.
It didn't happen to me on that day because I was already in jail when it happened.
I was scared that when I got back to Joburg, I was going to be arrested. Well, I wasn't. Who are you asking? You're looking at me?
Yes, mate, I'm talking to you.
So the old fuddy-duddies like Dennis and me will remain there?
I just want to say, Joe, that the thing about... Damn, go on, and it's coming back to me.
So much more than just the Legal and Rights show.
Join Dumile Mateza every Sunday at 2 p.m. only on the SABC News channel.
Welcome back. Time for us to shift our focus to what is happening in the regions of South Africa, and very much of it, of course, is coastal related right now. Close to 500,000 holiday makers visited the country's eastern coastline, or are visiting the country's eastern coastline. A contingent of lifeguards and police were deployed to monitor the situation there.
The Durban beachfront. Gridlocked as is the norm at this time of the year. Meeting at the beach is now a tradition for many, a time to be with friends and family.
It was fascinating to see so many people coming together on the beach, standing in the waves and the surf, holding hands, just fascinating.
While the mood was jovial for many, some still found something to worry about.
It is difficult to enjoy this holiday because there is just too many people. Youngsters are here with children, and sadly, children get lost on days like this.
A large contingent of lifeguards patrol the beaches.
Just received numbers that there are children and kids who have actually lost with their families. But what we are doing, we want to make sure that at the end of the day, those kids are actually connected with their parents, especially around this particular time.
Thousands of wristbands with all relevant information were provided for children, making it easier for the parents of those who go wandering around to track them down. Sibongo Ngembata for SABC News, Durban.
Further down the coast, tourism authorities have worked hard to market Nelson Mandela Bay as the perfect coastal destination. Centred at that marketing campaign is the fact that the city has 3 blue flag beaches to boast about. Occupancy figures for the bay are almost full for the Christmas period. Now, our reporter Janine Lee is standing by. She's got 2 guests. Firstly, the Deputy Minister of Tourism, Thokozile Kasa, and the Chief Executive Officer of Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism, Mandlakazi Skefile. Very good morning to you, Janine. Very beautiful where you're at.
Isn't it just beautiful? I'm sure you're jealous, but now I've heard you heading off on holiday to the coast yourself in a little while, so I'm not going to brag and make you jealous, but indeed we have a magnificent setting. And it's on days like this, Eben, when Nelson Mandela Bay can rival the rest of the world where it comes to absolutely perfect swimming beaches. You can see behind me the coastline goes on forever, and the beauty of it is the water's warm, and it's very safe, and the people of Nelson Mandela Bay love it, and so do all the tourists who come. But as you mentioned, with me this morning, the Deputy Minister of Tourism. Ma'am, thank you for joining us. Very nice to have you. Thokozile Kasa. Let's talk about tourism in general, South Africa. What are South Africa's best selling points?
This is, as you can see from my background, the long beaches, beautiful ones, safe, but also our attractions beyond the beaches and our people. You know, this is such a time of the year when everybody takes a little time, but we are encouraging South Africans to really take final look into the beauty that we offer. Our eateries, as you can see, lined up along the beaches, and also our accommodation that is graded, that is world-class standard, boast.
Deputy Minister, coastal tourism is a massive thing, and I suppose it must be quite nice for you to have so many beaches in South Africa with blue flag status when it comes to marketing South Africa as a destination. How important are these blue flag beaches?
We have even prioritized them as part of Operation Pakisa, the Blue Ocean Economy, to even put more emphasis and also develop more and come up with more products, because South Africa is selling itself alongside those blue flag beaches. We pride ourselves, and we are saying to the world, here is a destination where you can get the best of the beaches of the world that you can get, but also we are priding ourselves with service excellence that we put in on top of any services that we offer as Destination South Africa.
As tourism goes, just briefly, there must be challenges for us as a country.
Yes, tourism, South Africans have not yet explored their country. So we would be having much more numbers. But gradually, as we are looking at it, we're moving away because we had a drop in 2013, 2014 in terms of domestic tourism. That we believe it is the backbone for sustainable tourism of any country. Now, South African tourism have re-strategized in terms of domestic tourism. We also have invested in terms of putting in some money for this year to ensure that they put on more products, they look at more market segments to grow domestic tourism. We hoping that South Africans would take charge of the new packages that are meant to boost accessibility by our people on the products that are there. And we are happy that Nelson Mandela Bay is topping our cities to ensure that such packages are accessible to our people, and we are looking at more South Africans really taking advantage of that, and we have more numbers because in growing such numbers we are able to increase in spend in the trips. Taxis will be used, local transport is getting used, accommodation is getting used, and everybody is happy.
Okay, on that note, we're going to let you enjoy a little bit of the bay because I know you've got a busy weekend ahead. But let's have a chat to Mandlakazi Skafile. She's the CEO of Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism. Now, we've got a very special booklet for tourists that make exploring our city and surrounds really easy and really cheap. Tell us about it.
Absolutely, Leanne. Janine, we've got a wonderful tool in the bay called a destination pass. It's a Nelson Mandela Bay pass. It is obtainable at any of our visitor information center. When you go there, you will be given information about it. I'm holding a booklet about it.
Let's have a look at it. So it looks like that, eh?
It looks like that. You'll be given information about it, be given this booklet, as well as you'll be able to purchase your pass. What it does, it's an access card that enables you access to these various tourism attractions. So instead of you handling cash everywhere you go, you will be swiping for your access in order for you to enjoy Nelson Mandela Bay.
So there's no excuse?
No excuse, affordable rates, and it enables you to stay even longer because it gives you a wide variety of activities.
Mandlakazi, just talk us through what are numbers like for the season. We look pretty busy, our beaches are full.
Well, I'm not going to talk about specific numbers, but as a coastal destination, we always expect a number of visitors into the city, mostly domestic travel that comes through, many of the visiting friends and relatives. So this year is no different to that. We are expecting large numbers. If you're looking at accommodation, they are fairly booked up. If you're looking for accommodation between the 23rd and the 2nd of January, it's going to be difficult for you to find accommodation. However, our visitor information centers will always be ready to assist you in order to find that bed that you'd be looking for.
Just tell us what has been put in place to make sure that all our visitors and our locals are safe.
Well, our safety officers have put a plan together for the summer season period to ensure that our visitors will be safe. So there will be visibility of law enforcement along the beaches, along the major hotspots throughout the city. So we're wanting to say to our visitors, relax, just enjoy our city and all its lovely attractions, and you will be in safe hands.
As a tourism body, you must be extremely proud and happy that we do have 3 blue flag beaches, which is actually fantastic for when you need to market.
That is absolutely phenomenal for us because people are always worried about the safety of the water, the condition, and the fact that there will be no glasses on the sand. So with the blue flag beaches and that status, it ensures that there won't be those glasses, there won't be public drinking, and people will feel safe, and the condition of the water itself will be ideal for swimming.
Mandakazi, thank you so much. Deputy Minister, thank you very much. Well, there you have it. If you haven't booked, it is fully booked in PE, Nelson Mandela Bay, but there is always room for one more. That's the message. And from the Deputy Minister, get out there and start exploring your own country. There's so much to see and do, and particularly if you're heading somewhere, make it Nelson Mandela Bay. From us here, from the beach vibe Eben, it's back to you in Johannesburg, and hope you enjoyed the view that we gave you today.
Thanks, Leanne. Janine, for that contribution. That's Janine Lee, as always. Lots of fun, lots of festivities in Port Elizabeth. Now we've done Durban, we've done Port Elizabeth. Let's go down to the scenic splendor of the Western Cape. Now, it's long been a draw card in South Africa and abroad. This is where you'll find the Cape Winelands and beautiful stretch of coastline. Most visitors, they list Table Mountain, Robben Island, where the late Nelson Mandela was incarcerated, and a visit to the Cape of Good Hope at the tip of the Cape Peninsula as absolute priorities. Now, in our Cape Town studio this morning, we are joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Cape Town Tourism, Enver Dumini. Very good morning to you, Enver. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Eben. Thank you.
I know festive season's in full swing in Cape Town already, and we're still a week away from Christmas, but what sort of visitor numbers are you looking at this season, and are you already up on the numbers from last year?
Well, if you look at airport arrivals, we're already up on last year. We're seeing growth in the excess of 8, 9 and 10% for domestic, regional, Africa and then international travellers to Cape Town compared to last year. So we are encouraged by the fact that there are a lot more direct flights coming into Cape Town, specifically from the African continent, like Ethiopian Airlines. So we remain cautiously optimistic, however, when we look at occupancy levels, because we're still feeling some of the impact that visa regulations have had on tourism. When we look at occupancy levels, for November, we were sitting at around the 70% mark. Our forecasts, when we speak to the industry, we assume that the numbers would grow to about 75%, which means that there's still capacity in Cape Town for tourists, and this is again just part of the impacts that we felt post visa regulations.
Where you said it, what sort of number are you looking at for occupancy over the next month then?
Well, we're looking at 75%, but we also need to be cognizant of the fact that there's also growing competition from the likes of Airbnb, because that is affecting current traditional markets. And also traditional accommodation service providers. But when we look at the attraction numbers, just from the sentiment in speaking to the attraction owners, they've said that November has been one of the best months for them, and it's attributed to both good weather and then also major events that have happened in Cape Town, like the one over the weekend, which was the Sevens Rugby. When we come to Cape Town, and I'll be there in a couple of days, of course, in my hometown, as you would know, you always do the same things. You go to Robben Island, and you do the winelands, the basic things up Table Mountain and so forth. But is there anything new or unique this time, this year, that travellers, visitors can look forward to? Absolutely, Eben. There's so much. I think there's a lot more of the local markets that are popping up. There's the Googs Craft Beer Festival that's going to be happening soon. There's major New Year's Eve parties. I think one of my favorites is sidecar adventures, where you kind of hop on these vintage World War II motorbikes with a sidecar and put on some retro gear, and you go around Cape Town in these sidecars. It's just an amazing experience to get to see the city in a different view. There's also wine tours, but wine tours with a difference. It's called wine tuning. So basically what you do, instead of pub crawling, you do wine crawling, where you go from one establishment to the next that offers you wine and food pairings, and it just changes the experience in the destination beyond the traditional ones, like you said, the major attractions that most first-time visitors seem to go to.
The overall economic impact of tourism on Cape Town at this time of the year, what are you looking at?
Well, when we look at the recent studies, the economic or direct spend by foreign travellers for tourism in 2013 and 14 was about 13.6 billion rand. So it's quite significant. It's estimated to be about 10% of the GDP of the city and the province. So it's quite significant. However, we still remain cautiously optimistic purely because of visa regulations. As much as they've said they've made amendments to the regulations, it's the implementation of the changes to the regulations that still haven't taken effect. And as Cape Town, we are reliant on international tourists. And when we look at the peak season for tourists from overseas, it happens normally from February on. So when we look at the timelines that have been given by the Department of Home Affairs that said that the visa regulation changes would be implemented within 3 months, we hope that they deliver on that by the end of January so that we can actually make and take full advantage of the international tourists.
Now, security, of course, is always a concern at this time of the year. Enver, is there anything different that you guys are doing, to make sure that visitors are safe?
I think there's two approaches. The one is always being a lot more proactive. In other words, making sure we have the messaging, the collateral, providing information to tourists before they get into destination about some of the safety elements and using common sense at times. But we also have training programs with the industry so that concierge, taxi operators, everyone can also help people to kind of understand safety issues and concerns. And in the event that something does happen, we have a 4-step visitor safety program that we activate that the entire industry, local government and civil society gets involved in. So we take both a proactive and reactive view of tourism and safety around it. But we also look at activities and information sharing on the beaches. We see more lifeguards being deployed, a lot more visible policing that's happening. And also that there's also communication between civil society, the law enforcement and the tourism authorities that in the event something happens, we can communicate immediately, effectively, so that we can also react to the situations and not do it in traditional silos like it always happened before.
Now, Enver, the late night party scene in Cape Town has always been revered around the world, but in recent times things have been closing at around 2 in the morning. Are you guys going to be a little bit more open-minded about this over the festive season, or is that a no-no?
Well, Eben, I'm sure I'll be seeing you there at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're hanging out with me. But we also need to be cognizant of the fact that the city has its own bylaws. And as a tourism authority, we encourage the city to try and open up these operating hours. But it's also about acting responsibly for most of the activities that happen within residential zones. So we also need to find the balance between the two. But as Cape Town Tourism, we continue to work with the city to look at how we can drive and increase operating hours, but also through responsible mechanisms.
And what's your message to the folk from upcountry who are travelling in with their GP number plates and their and all the other number plates that get a lot of abuse from Cape Townians at this time of the year? What's your message to them? It's going to be packed, isn't it?
Even we don't abuse anybody with different registration. You should know that. So when you come down with your GP registration, we will give you right of way and we will hug you. Well, go back to the old way of Hagavali. So we just say welcome to everybody that's coming here, have a safe and enjoyable, and just, enjoy Cape Town. It's here, it's a South African city, it's here for all of us, not just for Cape Townians.
And if you have to pick one event, if there's one event that stands out in the back of your mind for Cape Town for the next couple of weeks, what would that event be and why?
I think New Year's Eve parties. They're going to be happening all over. I think there's a major one that's planned for the V&A waterfront with great music artists, food, wine, entertainment, fireworks displays, light festivals, and I think it's also a nice place where you can take your family too. So it's a combination of all these elements where you can actually, welcome the new year after a tumultuous 2015 for most of us in tourism and kind of look forward to an amazing 2016.
Enver, thank you very much for joining us. Yes, it's been a tumultuous, tough 2015 for everyone in South Africa. I think we all deserve a break. Thanks for joining us today. That's Enver Doemany. He's the CEO of Cape Town Tourism, and he's telling us that all roads are leading to the mother city at this time of the year. If you're traveling, remember to keep it safe. Yeah, we've asked you a question today. That question is relating to traveling on the roads. Now, thousands and thousands of people are traveling to the coast. We want to know from you, what's your experience on South Africa's roads thus far this festive season? We'll try and put the best one up a little bit later, as we also have a little look around the traffic situation before we say goodbye. Yes, it will be my last contribution for the 2015 year today. I'll say goodbye to all of you a little bit later, but first, Pearl is going to join us for a wrap of the sports news of the day after a short break. See you then.
The internet has been found to be a tool used by militant groups when recruiting members. This has forced governments to create tighter internet laws. Technology has also been used to call for social change, as was the case with the abducted Nigerian girls.
The people on social media are some of the society's most influential. If they get an issue started, you're likely to have that issue become a national issue.
And on Network, we tell you about this serious side of technology, but we have fun too with gadgets, games and cars. That's Network every Sunday at 19:30, only on SABC News.
Welcome back to Newsroom. Now, the Ethics Committee of Soccer's world governing body FIFA will turn their attention to its Vice President and UEFA Chief Michel Platini in Zurich, Switzerland today. But Platini won't be attending the hearing into a controversial payment that he had received from outgoing FIFA President Sepp Blatter 4 years ago. Blatter appeared before the committee on Thursday. FIFA is still reeling from the worst corruption scandal in its more than 100-year history, with 41 people already charged by US prosecutors.
Blatter and Platini were suspended for 90 days in October, pending the outcome of a full investigation into their conduct. This after the Swiss Attorney General's office started criminal proceedings against Blatter over the 30 million rand payment to his deputy in 2011. Both men have denied any wrongdoing. Blatter insists the payment was above board. He says the two had a verbal contract and Platini was remunerated for work done for FIFA years before. On Thursday, Blatter spent 8 hours defending the payment to the committee, made up of 4 judges. Day 2 will focus on Platini, but his lawyers have indicated that he will boycott proceedings. He believes his case has been prejudged. A ruling in the matter is expected early next week. If found guilty, the two could be banned from the sport for years. The Swiss Justice Ministry has since confirmed that it has frozen millions of Swiss francs in 50 bank accounts relating to FIFA following a request from US investigators. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has described Blatter as a very respected person who deserved to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Putin made the comments during his annual news conference in Moscow. He added that Blatter's contribution to the humanitarian sphere in the world was colossal. Putin also reiterated that Russia won the rights to host the 2018 World Cup fairly. Russia, however, was suspended from athletics last month after a World Anti-Doping Agency report exposed widespread state-sponsored doping and related corruption in that country. Russian athletes are now set to miss the World Indoor Championships in Portland in the United States in March, and are in a race against time to be cleared to compete in the Rio de Janeiro Olympics in August next year. Liesel Zankel, SABC News.
Meanwhile, suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter left FIFA's headquarters in Zurich after appearing before the Ethics Committee of World Soccer's governing body in a case that could end with him being banned from the sport for years. Blatter was suspended on October 8th from all soccer-related activity for 90 days, alongside UEFA chief Michel Platini, pending a full investigation into their conduct. The FIFA ethics inquiry began in the wake of the Swiss Attorney General Office's decision to open criminal proceedings against Blatter over a $2 million payment to Platini back in 2011. Blatter and Platini both have denied any wrongdoing. Platini, who had intended to run for FIFA presidency, was due to be heard by the committee today, but he has refused to attend, saying the process against him is purely political. Separately, a spokesman for the Swiss Justice Ministry said on Thursday it had frozen millions of Swiss francs related to FIFA in response to a request from the US investigators. In English football, Chelsea's technical director Michael Emenalo said that the move to part ways with manager Jose Mourinho was to protect the interests of the club. The TD said that the owner, Roman Abramovich, had to act because of a palpable discord between manager and players. Mourinho was dismissed by the Premier League champions after a poor run of the results left the club a point above the relegation zone, some 7 months after leading them to the league title. Chelsea fell to their 9th defeat of the season on Monday to log leaders Leicester City. The relegation favourites have surprised many this season, and their boss Claudio Ranieri has ruled himself out of a return to Stamford Bridge. Guus Hiddink is the favourite to take over as interim manager. Former Chelsea striker Matija Kezman told Croatian website that the Dutchman had informed him that he had already landed the job. Chelsea are 16th on the log after 16 games and next host Sunderland. The announcement made on the club's website confirming the move did not, however, confirm who would next take charge. On to local football, Kaizer Chiefs play Bidvest Wits in a Premier Soccer League encounter at the Cape Town Stadium on Saturday, 1,400 kilometres away from their home base. Chiefs will want to bounce back after their 3-1 defeat to Mamelodi Sundowns, this in the Telkom Knockout Cup final on Wednesday in Durban.
Chiefs have signed a deal with the city of Cape Town, which will see them play 3 of their home games in the mother city, starting with the game against Wits on Saturday, then further matches against Platinum Stars and SuperSport United in January and February next year.
We're very keen to connect with our supporters, bring our players here, bring the game to the people, going into the community, doing soccer clinics, and really just sharing the Kaizer Chiefs experience.
The Amakosi will have their work cut out against the Clever Boys, who currently top the PSL log under the guidance of Gavin Hunt.
Well, Wits University, they're under a good technical team. The head coach, Gavin Hunt, he has changed the team tremendously. He has brought in new players, and they've done very well. I mean, you can tell by the way they are. They're on top at the moment, number one, and they've been doing very well.
Cape Town Stadium was abuzz with the Cape Town Sevens this past weekend. It should be pretty full on Saturday with the mighty Amakosi in town. Craig Murray, SABC News, Cape Town.
And in surfing, Brazilian Adriano de Souza clinched the 2015 World Surf League title at the world-renowned Banzai Pipeline in Hawaii. In the process, he also became the first Brazilian to win the Billabong Pipe Masters in memory of Andy Irons. De Souza's title-clinching performance came with a significant wave of emotions as he dedicated the victory to fallen compatriot Ricardo dos Santos, who died earlier this year. The final day of the championship tour began with 3 contenders in the hunt for the world surfing crown: Mick Fanning, Gabriel Medina and De Souza. Fanning's quarterfinal win over Kelly Slater ousted Medina from the race, but a late big air maneuver from Medina in their semi-final eliminated Australian from the competition, which left De Souza the task of winning his semi-final, which would give him the world title. He beat wildcard Mason Ho to claim the crown. After an injury-affected season, South African's Geordie Smith ended in 28th place. When it comes to surfing for the year, it's South African's Bianca Buitendag who shone, ending the year ranked 4th after 4 podium finishes. And that's all your sports for this morning's edition of the Newsroom. Before we say goodbye, Eben has something to say for you, our viewers.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pearl. Now, today's theme is road safety during the festive season. Let's take a quick look at the roads that are the busiest, but also what to do and what then not to do in order to reach your destination safely.
As traffic volumes continue to increase in major routes across the country, motorists are urged to be patient and vigilant on the road. One of the roads expected to be among the busiest in the country is the N1 between Johannesburg and Cape Town. The road works on the N1 has not been completed on time for the festive season.
No, we are well prepared. If you can look at the team that we have assembled, we are working together with the province. I am just told that from 6 o'clock today, already the volumes of traffic were a little bit high. As I come in here, I had to accelerate up to 70 kilos per hour. That shows you that already the traffic has started. But all that we are appealing for, it is just a cooperation and patience amongst the drivers, because what you see here is just a temporary measure where the road is under construction, particularly as you come from Raymond Hlaba up to your Walter Sisulu drive going down Colesberg. So clearly it tells you that the only medicine for this, it is patience and cooperation. But we have also augmented our bodies, like in the form of your law enforcement officers. We have made sure that we have enough team that is visible 24 hours a day. So we think that we'll be able to cope between now until the end of the festive season.
Meanwhile, the N12 road between Klerksdorp and Potchefstroom in the northwest has led to motorists being diverted through the northwest town of Stilfontein due to a sinkhole.
We are aware that the hole is sinking, and anytime it can collapse because of the impact which is caused by the rain as well, because already there are holes there, and as it rains it creates more risks. So we don't want to take a chance. We want people to be safe. Definitely it's going to be throughout this holiday season. We cannot guarantee opening the road, because any risk there we will then have to be responsible.
18 days into the 2015 festive season, the death toll on South African roads is nearing 500. It's estimated that road accidents claim between 13,000 to 14,000 lives in South Africa. Among major reasons for fatal accident is drunk driving. The South Africans Against Drunk Driving, a non-profit organization, is attributing this to lack of law enforcement on drunk drivers.
The main thing that works, education is important, but the most important part of actually bringing down the crashes is enforcement. And unfortunately, South Africa scores very badly on enforcement. We score 4 out of 10 for enforcement. So that's the one problem. We're just not testing people enough. And the other problem is that we need very swift fining or swift court appearances. We need licenses to be suspended. So basically, the Department of Transport is not testing enough, and Department of Justice is actually not implementing the correct fines and penalties.
The World Health Organization's report says every year the lives of approximately 1.25 million people are cut short as a result of a road traffic crash.
Well, there we have it. But let's now take a look at what you had to say about our question of the day, what we asked you today, about your experience of driving on the roads. And this one here from Lighton Mabunda says, SABC Newsroom, drunk drivers must be arrested and serve jail time. Drunk driving is a deliberate and a careless act. No excuse can justify it. Now that's a very
sobering thought, one would think.
Yeah,
sobering
excuse the
thought,
pun.
that is. It is a conscious action, drunk driving is.
Exactly. And of course, all the other actions that you're supposed to take: buckle up, drive safe, and of course, switch on those headlights so everybody else can see you.
I will see you next year. Enjoy the holidays.
But of course, Pearl?
Yes, it's been absolutely lovely having, to spend time with you guys once again in the studio. But before we end the show, we do close it off with a performance from Mashapa. And he's a young hip-hop artist with this song titled Mbonge. And that means thank him. So thank you, Gideon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elvis.
Thank you. Yeah.
And thank you for all the guys that make this show happen.
Cheerio.
Thanks, guys.
it up, lift it up, no problem, silent one. That's why I've got style, but sleep around, it's fun. So I fornicated, wasn't real to anybody, yeah, I fabricated. God really hates it. He hates it, so you won't win. His word cuts like a sharp edge of a fish tin. He made you in his image, so he really knows what you're thinking. When they say you got it, he really knows what you're missing. And other styles got cool, we don't listen. Wishing I had, wishing I had, wishing I had. Yeah, I almost quit. Yeah, yeah. Wishing I had, wishing I had, wishing I had. Yeah, I almost quit. Got the magic. Bonge. Yeah, na pegela. Yeah, na hewa shevela. Bonge. Si mo chohela kubonga. Ngobi mpili nzima. Mawe. Mbong, mbong. Yana bonga mina get better. Mbong, mbong. Na cancer mina him.